Thank you, Dave. Our final Friday night is available on TSN HD and in 5.1 Dolby Digital Surround Sound. TSN is Canada's sports leader in high definition. Well, there is a playoff chill in the air. In fact, there were a few flurries flying a few moments ago. The temperature is 5 degrees, and that wind shouldn't be too bad for this November Friday night. Jim Pop's Montreal Alouettes need a win to finish 500 and avoid their first sub-500 season since returning to Montreal back in '96. A win will also book a reservation for the Eastern semifinal here on November 11th, while Doug Barry's Bombers still trying to fan first-place hopes. They need a win and a Saskatchewan victory tomorrow. Doug Barry has been smiling on the sidelines despite losing 3 of the last 4.
That's what's interesting, is he's been very relaxed and confident about this football team. They have won just 1 of their last 4, as you mentioned, but they haven't lost more than 2 in a row all season long. So he has confidence that his defense is playing better. His offense been pretty good all year.
So Damon Duval has it on the tee. There's Keith Stokes, who was impressive for the most part last week in the loss against Toronto. But for the 1 fumble on a punt return, Stokes is back with Fred Reed, and it will be Keith Stokes from just inside his 20. And Stokes battles his way out to the 37-yard line for a 17-yard return. There's Walter Spencer tied for the lead in special team tackles with Brian Crawford of the Argos coming in.
Well, the offense for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, led by Milt Stegall in the receiving corps, and maybe the last regular season game, won't be Charles Roberts in the lineup. He will be ready for the playoffs. It'll be Fred Reed, as Matt Dunnigan mentioned. There's Stegall, the all-star and touchdown leader in Canadian Football League history, and the guys that will block for Matt Sheridan back in the lineup at guard, but maybe the last regular season game for Milt Stegall as a Bomber.
Play action fake to Reed, and the first pass is thrown to Milt Stegall. Incomplete. TJ Hill on coverage. We'll set the Alouette defense for you.
Devon Claybrooks up front, still out of that defensive lineup and in the defensive line. So Eric Wilson gets his 2nd straight start inside. Anwar Stewart, 3 sacks for him. John Bauman, 7 sacks outside. Kai Ellis is the middle linebacker. TJ Hill, the outstanding rookie, 63 tackles for him. And how Randy Drew in that secondary is not a finalist for outstanding rookie out of the East, I'm not sure, and taking nothing away from Nick Sutter.
Glenn Suter looking for a recount. There is a completion over the middle, and back in the lineup is R.J. Franklin for the Blue Bombers with a first down catch. And still showing the effects of a sore shoulder that's kept him out for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and you want to get that first hit in. R.J. Franklin coming all the way across the middle, 32 catches on the season, 424 yards, and he's made a lot of catches on 2nd down, especially in the second half. Kevin Glenn made a point yesterday in the press conference to say that he was real excited to get R.J. Franklin back. He has been a guy he's leaned on in 2nd down situations.
Doug Barry talking about Franklin and how encouraged he's been over his performance in year 2 of his CFL career, and said those numbers would be better if it wasn't for the fact the big 3 on this Bomber team have been so dominant, with 3 receivers already over 1,000 yards. Derek Armstrong, Milt Stegall, and the league leader, the former Alouette, Terrence Edwards. So 10 for Franklin, 1st and 10, and there is Armstrong. The hitch, screen, and Armstrong turns it upfield. There is a flag, which will cut into a big gain for Derek Armstrong, who's 3rd in the Canadian Football League in receiving yards.
Well, Andrew Green was way downfield. That could have been the call. He was trying to block Randy Drew. The play is well set up at the point of attack, with Armstrong coming back inside on the hitch screen.
Holding Winnipeg number 68. After first down was gained, it's a 10-yard penalty, and first down, Winnipeg.
So it is the right guard, Andrew Green.
Well, Andrew Green shaking his head because the play is so well executed from the Bombers' perspective. The block made at the top of your screen by Milt Stegall, perfect for Armstrong, and the holding was later deep into there. There's big Andrew Green right there. He's trying to block on Randy Drew and basically tackles him from behind. That'll take the play away.
Could have been bigger. It still is an 18-yard pickup, but a first down at midfield. Andrew Green, all 18 games, one of 3 offensive linemen for the Bombers who have started and played in every regular season game. Fred Reed off the left side, a penalty marker down, and a face mask, likely the call on Diamond Ferry, the rookie linebacker for the Alouettes.
Major foul, face mask, Montreal number 40, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Well, Fred Reed has only carried the football 23 times coming into this game, and the reason for that is there's a pretty good running back ahead of him in Charles Roberts. But there's the face mask on Diamond Ferry. Roberts was real close, and he talked to Doug Barry about playing and said maybe it would be smarter to get to that playoff game with a bruise in his thigh. So we'll see more of Fred Reed, and Diamond Ferry gets a penalty that puts Kevin Glenn in pretty good position.
So Sir Charles will finish the year at 1,379 yards, and in all likelihood, number 2 in rushing yards. O'Neal Wilson can't hang on, the former Alouette.
You know, one of the reasons that Doug Barry may be a little bit more relaxed and confident is when he looks at his receiving corps. And you mentioned it, Chris, about the triple threat that they have with the leader in the Canadian Football League in Terrence Edwards at 1,279. And look at the touchdown totals as well, all very strong and consistent. Armstrong on the outside, and of course the legend, great Milt Stegall.
Not surprised about Stegall, but did you think on the opening Friday night that Terrence Edwards would be the league leader in receiving yardage? Here's an open receiver and a completion. And Milt Stegall's got the catch, trying to cut into the 247 yards he needs to catch Alan Pitts on the all-time list.
Well, he'd have to have a big one, obviously, to get the 247. He is capable of it. He has had games over 200 yards receiving, and he just slides in between the deep player, Matthew Prue, I should say, and Etienne Boulay underneath. And then a little pushing after the fact.
20 for Milt, and the ball is at the Alouette 18-yard line. Slow starts have been a story all season long for the Bombers. Trying to change that here. And Fred Reed off the left side. Big hole. Fred Reed, touchdown Bombers.
How well was that blocked up front?
An 18-yard romp brings the fans out of their seats, and Fred Reed has his first CFL touchdown.
Alexander Gauthier off the corner here. The tackle right there makes a key block because Fred Reed comes around that corner. He hooks that defensive end, brings him inside. Look at how he sealed that outside. Now Fred Reed can turn the corner, get his pads going north-south, and the end zone arrives quickly for Fred Reed.
Well, Matt Dunnigan told you prior to the game that he liked the looks of Charles Roberts' replacement, and shows you why there. An 18-yard romp to cap a 73-yard touchdown drive. Bombers won the first 2 meetings against the Alouettes this year without a first quarter point, but they have a first quarter, first possession touchdown courtesy of Fred Reed.
Tremendous blocking up front for Fred Reed.
Blue Bomber time, baby.
He did show some acceleration as he rounded that corner.
Ball falls off the tee, so Troy Westwood will reload. You can see the snow flurries here at Canad Inns Stadium. Ashland Davis, Brian Bratton are deep for the Alouettes, and it will be Davis from his 2. And Ashland Davis with a crease, and then the boom is lowered by Kyrus Hebert, who had a 6 special team tackle game against the Alouettes early this year.
Let's go back to that touchdown, show you a couple blocks and one decision that may have cost Montreal a little bit. First of all, there's Gauthier off the edge. He's going to take Alain Kashama inside and hook him. As the play runs, so one other guy has the opportunity to make the tackle here, and that's going to be right there, Diamond Ferry. But his path takes him inside, and he gets caught rather than looping around, scraping, and get to an open area where he can possibly make a tackle. So when Ferry went inside and Kashama got hooked, Fred Reed was gone.
So Marcus Brady makes his 4th start of the year, and the play doesn't get off. Brady, who came in last week in the second quarter in Calgary and really lit it up.
Montreal 67, 5-yard penalty remains, first down.
It's a good start for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, though, to get that touchdown. The Alouettes have been very good defensively in the first quarter, and you mentioned, Chris, that the Bombers haven't been great offensively in the first quarter, so that trend changes with that Fred Reed touchdown.
So 1st and 15 after the procedure call. Short drop for Brady, and that ball batted down. Not many knockdowns so far this season for the Bombers, but Stevie Baggs in for Tom Canada has one there.
Take a look at this Montreal Alouette offensive lineup. You mentioned Marcus Brady at quarterback. Avon Coburn will be the tailback. Jarrett Payton is out with a rib injury. You'll see a little bit of Kerry Carter here tonight as well. Played well in the Calgary game. Ben Cahoon, nominee for Outstanding Canadian. And there is the offensive line with Paul Lambert going inside to guard. He replaces Josh Burke, who's injured.
Starting lineup brought to you by Holiday Inn Hotels. It's 2nd and 15, and going deep, and just out of the reach of the intended receiver, Elijah Thurman.
Elijah Thurman is often the inside receiver. In this case, he's going to be up there. That's called the number 2 receiver because you count from the outside in. So the wide out is number 1. That's number 2. Little stop and go move on Kelly Malvo. And just out of his reach, you know, the Bombers yesterday and Doug Barry were saying that Kelly Malvo was one of the guys that they were disappointed didn't get an all-star nod because of his versatility.
He's been all over that defense. A high snap. Duval had a rush to get it away. Brushed by Robert Bean, but no flag. And here's Keith Stokes on the return. And Stokes is wrapped up at the 35-yard line. And again, Walter Spencer downfield quickly. So Kevin Glenn and the Bombers have their second possession of the game. Glenn with 48 yards passing on that opening touchdown drive. Needed 82 coming in tonight to hit 5,000. In 2007. Back to the running back Fred Reed, right side, and Reed has 3.
Boy, Diamond Ferry was there in a hurry to make that tackle. You know, the coaching staff reminded of him his run stop responsibilities after Fred Reed scored on the first series of the game for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Reed 13 carries, 75. Checked at 57 yards last week in the start against the Argos. Second and 7 from the 38. 3-man rush for the Alouettes, and Glenn will step up, and he'll be brought down. Brought down by Khalid Abdullah. Recent acquisition of the Alouettes at linebacker.
Comes up and is basically the spy technique on Kevin Glenn, who's going to try and take off through the middle. And this is not a design quarterback draw, but good coverage downfield by the Montreal Alouettes secondary. And Khalid Abdullah comes up with a tackle to hold Winnipeg short and had to make them punt the football. I mentioned that they don't have good first quarters, this offense. They're averaging, coming into this game, just 4.2 points per game. That first touchdown put them ahead of that.
Pat Fleming, the punter for the second straight week. And here's Ashlyn Davis trying to get outside. Does get past Jason Nugent and steps out at the Montreal 40-yard line. 7-0 Bombers lead, and trying to stay warm on the sidelines is our quarterback inside the huddle, Danny McManus.
Chris, you're absolutely right. It is a little cold out here. But what Montreal is doing is using a 2-quarterback system. Jason Moss and Marcus Brady, they're going to be the keys to the game tonight and to their playoff run. How these two guys play. Marcus Brady does a lot outside the pocket, throws the ball very well on the run. And Jason Moss is a perfect pocket passer. When he gets on a streak, he's very tough to beat. That's going to be a key for the Montreal Alouettes through their playoff run.
Brady posting the win last week, just the second since 2000 without Anthony Calvillo for the Alouettes. Well, carry up the middle by Avon Coburn, who will carry the ball in place of the injured Jarrett Payton in this game.
Well, the defense that he will face is a fired-up Winnipeg defense in Marcus Brady facing this group. No Tom Canada in the lineup. He should be ready for playoffs. Stevie Baggs replaces him. There is the linebacking core, Marcus Wynn in for Ike Charlton. He is close as well. And the secondary without Jerome Bolden, again, third game that he has missed. They're hoping he'll be back for playoff time.
2nd and 7, and Brady in trouble. Escapes, and now will just throw it away and avoid the sack as the heat was on, and somehow Stevie Baggs unable to bring him down, and Doug Brown had turned it up as well, wearing the visor for this game tonight.
The key for the Winnipeg defense will be to contain Marcus Brady. He did a great job, Brady did, against the Calgary Stampeders at getting outside of the pocket and then having the option to throw and run. So whether it's Jerome Haywood, Doug Brown, Gavin Walls, or Stevie Baggs, or maybe even sometimes tonight you will see Baron Simpson spying Marcus Brady. The goal for the Winnipeg defense is to keep him in the pocket.
Well, Brady had immediate returns last week coming off the bench in Calgary. Not the case tonight against the Bombers. Stokes with nowhere to go as he fielded that Duval punt. Bombers start at their 26. Bobby Kahn, the shotgun snap to Glenn. And O'Neal Wilson unable to bring that pass in.
Kevin Glenn trying to catch Kahari Jones and become the all-time leading Bomber when it comes to passing yards, just on the verge of 5,000.
He was on pace for much of the year to break the Bombers team record, but the last 5 weeks, obviously the numbers have been down, and unless he can pass for 416 in this game, he will not set the record. Draw play, Fred Reed flat down, and Reed, a tough guy to bring down with the carry up to the 35-yard line. He'll be about a yard and a half short of the first down. But again, a penalty marker on the play.
Yeah, there was some concern with that. This looks like it's going against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, but some concern with Kevin Glenn and that his numbers were dropping.
Butstein in charge tonight.
Procedure, illegal formation, Winnipeg 66. Man was not on the line. The penalty is declined. 3rd down.
That'll force the punt team on for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. But you look at last week, 181 yards passing in the loss to the Toronto Argonauts for Winnipeg for Kevin Glenn. And then the week before, 180 yards passing. But that week against Calgary, Charles Roberts had 154 yards rushing. So that balanced the offense out a little bit. But some concern from the fans here in Winnipeg about Kevin Glenn's decline in numbers. But when you talk to him or the receivers or Doug Barry, they are 100% confident in their football team heading into the playoffs offensively.
Man short on the punt-covered team for the Bombers, and Baron Simpson joins the fray late.
He's an important one, too, back there in that personal protector area.
Fleming, a line drive kick. Ashland Davis from his 25. Flag down and a stutter step for Ashland Davis to the 42-yard line. Butstein picked up the flag, so no penalty marker on the play. A 17-yard return for Ashland Davis. And the Alouettes will take over at their own 42-yard line. We're midway through the first quarter. Interesting interview, Brian Williams, with Jim Popp, and some interesting comments from our man in the studio, Jock Climby, about Jim Popp's leadership of this team as the head coach looking for a 500 season. And Evan Coburn off the right side. 5 to 6 yards for Coburn.
Well, and it really depends on what happens in that first round of the playoffs, I believe, for Jim Popp. And when you look at what this team has done and the sort of the roller coaster ride it's been on, you have to remember, in fairness to Jim Popp, there has been so many changes on this team. The reason it was so successful, the Montreal Alouettes, for so many years was because it was a veteran group and it had guys like Anthony Calvillo running the show with Mike Pringle behind him as a running back and all of those great years. This year they've gone through so many rookies.
Just 3 for Coburn. It's the 2nd and 7. They check off out of the backfield, and Coburn the catch. Barron Simpson, yet another tackle. He'll stop Coburn short of the first down. Simpson coming into this game with 108 tackles, first in the league by 1 over Zeke Moreno of Hamilton.
Yeah, you know, and I did hear Jock Climby's comments before the game started in the pregame show, and you know, and a lot of them I agree with. But if they can make a run here, and Marcus Brady can show some consistency at quarterback, and really it'll depend largely on his play, that all goes away for Jim Bob. They can make a run, and if they can somehow get to the Grey Cup championship game, it goes away in a hurry, doesn't it?
And we have seen that many times before.
You know, and in Brian Williams' interview, he did mention there were things this year that he would do differently, you know, given the second chance. This is the first time from start to finish that Jim Popp has come into a situation where he's been the head coach and general manager all season long. He's filled in on an interim basis, but this is the first time he's done it all season long and gone through the highs and lows.
Well, since '96, one of the best recruiters in the CFL. You wonder if all the time spent on the sidelines is going to take away from that success, the recruiting success that Pop's had. He's going to gamble on 3rd and less than a yard. And Brady will plunge forward behind Brian Chu, who was colliding with Doug Brown and Jerome Haywood.
Well, the matchup that I think that Jim Pop's watching is the one that we're watching too, is Marcus Brady against Barron Simpson here. And usually you match up a middle linebacker against a running back. But in this game, Barron Simpson is going to become more of a spy to Marcus Brady. And so if you look at the formations here, Gavin Walls, because of the running ability, and Stevie Baggs will have to play more on the line of scrimmage, and that'll leave this situation a one-on-one between these two, where Barron Simpson will have to become a scraper if Brady tries to get outside the pocket, which he does so well, and which offensive coordinator Marcel Belfait wants him to do. So that really creates a matchup where defensive ends have to play more on the line of scrimmage and conservative against a running quarterback, and it puts the middle linebacker in a bit of a bind to have to scrape. And right now, Barron Simpson is down, which is real bad news in this situation and matchup for the Bombers tonight.
So Barron Simpson getting attention, and will step out here in the opening quarter. Well, Barron Simpson feeling some pain. There's the fine line of a final regular season game. You want to play at full speed. You want to establish some momentum for the playoffs, but you don't want to lose anybody. Certainly not a critical defender like Barron Simpson. It was a first down on the quarterback sneak, and Marcus Brady going to the air. And that pass incomplete, intended for Ben Cahoon.
Let's go back to the 3rd down gamble for Marcus Brady, where Barron Simpson was injured on the play. He's right up in the line of scrimmage. That's what the middle linebacker does in short yardage, times it up. Looks like he got it right under the chin there. I think it was Paul Lambert that got him. And then he went down in the bottom of that pile. Looked like he was just kind of working the head. Maybe a bit of a pinched nerve in his neck or something like that. But he looks to be okay. It is a fine line, but remember, the Bombers would still love to try and take a shot at first place in the East.
Neil McKinley is checked in as the middle linebacker, 2nd and 10, and another pass for Cahoon sails incomplete. Anthony Malbrough was defending on the play, and another marker down on the field. Ben Cahoon, who had 20 catches in the first 2 meetings of the year. These two teams played twice in the first month of the season.
Winnipeg number 52 is a 5-yard penalty. Repeat, 2nd down.
Lots of talk this week after the nominations and finalists for the Outstanding Player Awards came out that Ben Cahoon should have been the Outstanding Canadian finalist out of the East. Doug Brown got the nod there. And
I'll sit right on the fence and tell you that, to me, was a dead heat. Doug Brown, Kevin Ivan, and Ben Cahoon. I mean, whoever doesn't get the nod might have a case, but Doug Brown will go against Jason Claremont in a terrific matchup of great Canadian ball players. And there's Ben Cahoon with a catch, and great Canadian columnists.
Yeah, that was it. Well, because both Jason Claremont and Doug Brown both write for their local newspapers. But the bottom line here is that you look at Ben Cahoon, and the reason for the argument was that Ben Cahoon leads all receivers this year in catches. I mean, over 1,000 yards, 1,074, has 4 touchdowns, but no receiver has more catches this year than Ben Cahoon. And that's why they thought. But you can argue for Doug Brown or Kevin Ivan. It's a dead heat there. I agree with you.
First down and off the left side. Kerry Carter rumbling and still going. And finally, Mike Troughton pulls him down at the 20. As Kerry Carter starting to get the ball more in this Alouette offense.
And just in case you're wondering, if you're a Bomber fan, Barron Simpson is back in the lineup there, but is he full speed is the question. Kerry Carter, he comes across the outside. He gets almost tripped up there, but shows pretty good balance. I was told by the Montreal coaching staff we may see more Kerry Carter. They want to experiment a little bit with him as a single back. But Simpson's back in the game.
Former NFL back, good size, 6'2", 237. A 22-yard romp, his longest in the CFL. And now Coburn straight ahead, and he's inside the 15. Avon Coburn, who's been a special teams man, even started at linebacker early in the year and carrying the football without Peyton in the lineup tonight.
Look at Ben Cahoon, and here's his catches on the season. You can see Derek Armstrong right there at 81, but Ben Cahoon, the leader, all receivers in the Canadian Football League. And of course, everybody rallies behind their guy in Montreal, and his teammates are saying, how come he wasn't the finalist? And then Bombers, when he went to the next press conference, they were in Doug Brown's corner.
There's the pitch. Coburn right side, cuts back. Avon Coburn has a first down at the Winnipeg 5-yard line.
And it looked like Cam Hall just didn't trust his defensive end quite enough on the play, because Coburn jumps way outside and Cam Hall jumps outside with him. Here's how it's supposed to work. There's Cam Hall and there's the end. What he's supposed to do is let the end get high and then fill inside. Watch how far the Cam Hall slides to the outside. He jumps way out. Barron Simpson's a containment man. You see they're both outside. That gives Coburn a little bit more room in the middle.
Alouettes getting things done on the ground. 8 for Coburn. And a first and goal at the 6. And flags flying all over the field.
Procedure. Montreal 57. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
Scott Flory, the all-star right guard, who Jim Pop says is the best offensive lineman in the league.
Well, the Montreal Alouettes have given up 65 sacks this year, worst in the Canadian Football League, but Scott Flory has given up just 1 when they broke down the film after every game.
With the red zone production, it's first and goal now from the 11-yard line. Play fake, and Brady looked like he wanted to keep it. He will, and Marcus Brady's down to the 3.
There's the example of Brady getting outside of containment, and as we showed you, that's exactly what he's going to try and do offensively, is to get him out here. And then now, who is the contained man? This time Barron Simpson's on the weak side, so it's going to be Cam Hall to the strong side of the formation. Now, does he get outside in time? That time he gets caught filling inside too quickly. So a bit of a guessing game going on right now for Cam Hall. Last time he was outside quickly and they cut back on him. This time he took away the inside and Brady got the corner.
Brady had 54 yards rushing in Calgary. The 11th play of the drive. It's second and goal from the 3. And it's Coburn trying to push the pile. He does get there. Touchdown. They break the plane, and Avon Coburn has the major score.
Pretty nice power from Avon Coburn to go underneath that pile and just push it, because it was Kyrus Hebert and Barron Simpson who were filling. Those are 2 pretty good run stoppers to be able to come in there. There's Barron Simpson, there's Kyrus Hebert. They're going to come in and fill that hole, and Avon Coburn got nice and low. He had the leverage position, and he drove both into the end zone, and he just crossed the plane.
Second touchdown of the season for Coburn, the all-time leading rusher at West Virginia. Duval for the extra point. And here in the final minute of the opening quarter, an impressive drive and a tie score. Jim Pop loves his versatility. He coined it the Coburn Project earlier in the year, and the project results in a tying touchdown.
Well, versatility, how about when you're talking versatility, usually you're talking for an offensive guy. He can play running back, maybe a little receiver. He can play some different spots, but Avon Coburn's better than that. He's a guy that they can play at linebacker. He's a return man in the kicking game. He catches punts. He can cover punts and kickoffs. And he's also a pretty darn good running back. That's versatility.
And he knows how to find the goal line. I wondered how he broke the plane, but on that replay, it showed you sticking the ball out as he was being held up inside the one.
Big games for both these backup running backs, really. Avon Coburn for Montreal and, of course, Fred Reed for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, getting a chance to play when their starters are out. It doesn't happen very often.
Here's Keith Stokes from the 16, and Stokes will be being tackled, wrapped up. A reminder to tune in to TSN tomorrow night for a Wendy's CFL on TSN doubleheader. Game 1, the Eskimos take on the Tiger Cats. And in Game 2, the Calgary Stampeders roll into Vancouver to meet the BC Lions. Action kicks off at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on our final night. As Dave Randorf mentioned, where did it all go? Final minute of this opening quarter. Time for one and maybe 2 plays. Here's Kevin Glenn. And Glenn in trouble, and Anwar Stewart has him wrapped up. Ball came loose, and the Bombers get on it. And let's see if Kevin Glenn gets up quickly.
Well, you talked about, wanting to play hard, and you got first place, at least a chance at it, still on the line.
Winnipeg 68. Penalties declined. Second out.
Right guard Andrew Green.
Well, you certainly, if you're the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and Doug Barry, cannot afford to lose Kevin Glenn, and that's where it comes to the offensive line to do their job. You see, Andrew Green had come from the backside of the formation. He's the right guard on the play, and he's working on Anwar Stewart, who does a nice job of not getting too high up the field. A couple of penalties now on Andrew Green, the veteran.
4th sack of the year for Anwar Stewart, the 2004 top defensive player in the league. 2nd and 18, and they get to Kevin Glenn. Back-to-back sacks. Alain Kashama with a penalty marker on the play. Kashama's 7th sack of the year.
Winnipeg 66. Penalties declined. Third down.
Alex Gauthier, the culprit that time. But between Kashama and Bowman, they've combined for 14 sacks, sharing that defensive end position. That's the end of the opening quarter, and we're tied in Winnipeg. First quarter stats brought to you by Rona, the Canadian how-to people.
Pretty much deadlocked on both sides, except for time of possession. And the Montreal Alouettes, with an 11-play drive, basically dominated there. 11 of their 14 offensive plays in one series, 68 yards.
And interesting to note, these two teams lead the Canadian Football League in time of possession. Bombers actually number 1 in that category, but not in that first quarter.
Yeah, not in the first quarter. They've got to go back to their running game, let those offensive line fire off a little bit, because some concerns, I would think, there for Winnipeg in this game, because the last 2 plays in a row, Montreal with great pressure on Kevin Glenn. They certainly cannot lose Kevin Glenn before this playoffs begin.
Back-to-back sacks, and so Pat Fleming is back to punt after those 2 sacks, and a rush on, but Fleming gets it away. Ashland Davis close to midfield, brought down by Jason Nugent with the penalty marker. And an Alouette in the Bomber bench. And Diamond Ferry with some words as they are finally separated. And a holding call against the Bombers.
Holding. Montreal number 40. 10-yard penalty. First down, Montreal.
It is Diamond Ferry, and we're going to join Sean Churchill.
Thank you very much, Chris. You mentioned that Charles Roberts is missing the 2nd straight game, but in fact, he has been Mr. Durable throughout his entire career. He's missed only 4 games throughout his 7 seasons here in Winnipeg. The other 2, not because of injury, disciplinary measures when he missed meetings back in 2001 and 2002. Guys?
And those days are behind him now.
Yes, they are.
You know, those days of Charles Roberts missing meetings and late for planes and things like that, that was a much younger and less mature Charles Roberts, and now he is ready to compete. And, you know, he talked to Doug Barry about playing in this game, and they were both saying if this was the playoff game, then they may have seen Charles Roberts, but because they've got a more important one in a week or so, or maybe 2.
So Charles Roberts' string of rushing titles will end at 2. First down, Brady beat on him, gets it away. Coburn, another penalty marker as Avon Coburn cuts back and is stripped of the football, and Ben Cahoon gets on it for the Alouettes. But I think this is about 5 or 6 consecutive plays with flags on the carpet. And this coming back.
Montreal number 65. 10-yard penalty. Repeat. First down.
Well, that play starts with Gavin Walls playing the way he's got to against Marcus Brady. Avon Coburn had picked up enough after Montreal recovered it for the first down, but that's what I was kind of talking about with Walls. He had to really slow play that and keep Brady in the pocket.
Paul Lambert, the culprit, back in at left guard. With the injury to Josh Bork, the left tackle was hurt last week in Calgary. Seagraves kicks out to that spot, and Lambert returns, a former All-Canadian who had been benched. Here's Brady with a completion. Elijah Thurman tracked by Kelly Malvo. And Malvo brings him down with some help from a very active Gavin Walls.
Now, we talked about Ben Cahoon and the argument for him as the nominee. Well, the guy who was and is out of the East is Doug Brown, the Canadian representative from the East Division, and you can see what Doug Brown has dealt with all year long. Brian Chew and Scott Flory both lined up and ready to block Doug Brown. One cuts him, the other ready to take him high. That's what the guy inside in the double team he has to take and still get penetration.
10 on that last play. It's 2nd and 10. Here comes the heat again. Brady does some nice work to avoid it, and now downfield, Thurman pulls it down. Elijah Thurman went up and brings that football down. And there is a marker in the Alouette backfield. But it looks like it's going against the Bombers, and it's a 43-yard pass from Brady to Thurman.
Roughing the passer. Winnipeg 52. Restricted penalty, half the distance to the goal. First down.
Stevie Bagg is going to get called to add on to this play, and I've often wondered why Elijah Thurman doesn't get more of these at 6'4". He's got that great height and ability to jump up and win the jump ball, and every time Marcus Brady gets outside of containment like he is there, he becomes a very dangerous threat. Stevie Baggs with a little bit of a late hit on Brady. Doug Barry doesn't like that one, and it tacked on, but the damage was already done with the catch from Elijah Thurman.
In front of Robert Bean, and Anthony Malbrough was close. Thurman with an outside shot at the 1,000-yard season. He needed 152. Coburn straight ahead, and this is not a recording. There is another penalty marker on the play.
This one going against Montreal.
Procedure, illegal formation. Number 67, Montreal, was not on the line. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, first down.
That's Dave Mudge, the former Bomber, and the right tackle for the Alouettes. So Jim Popp will log that penalty. And both coaches, if they're doing that, may need extra pens tonight. 12 penalties already, and we are not even 3 minutes into the second quarter. 1st and 15. Brady rolling right. Pressure into the corner. No one home. He threw it away. And it will be 2nd and 15.
But that's not bad for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers with Doug Brown just going along the line of scrimmage. I mentioned he has to take on the double team. He is Eastern nominee. Look at the strength that he brings through the middle. And if you're strong down the middle of your defense, your middle linebacker is better because of it, and so is your free safety. Kyrese Bear and Baron Simpson had pretty good seasons because it all starts right in the middle with Doug Brown.
One away from a personal best, 7 sacks in his column this week, appealing to Ken Austin to turn his boys loose tomorrow. Saskatchewan and Toronto. More pressure. Brady gets outside into the end zone. Touchdown, Ben Cahoon.
Well, great catch from Ben Cahoon at the other end, but Marcus Brady outside is very dangerous. You mentioned it again, Chris. He gets outside. If Brady gets outside, that ability to either run or throw puts the defense in a bind. Ben Cahoon makes a nice catch. Carisse Bear catches up, but when Brady gets outside of containment, once again here, he becomes a real threat. Winnipeg Blue Bombers gambling with inside rush lanes, and a pretty nice catch at the end of it for Cahoon.
19-yard touchdown throw from Brady to Cahoon, who just tied Peter Dallariva with 54 touchdowns on the all-time Alouette touchdown reception list. Alouettes take the lead. The votes are in, but Ben Cahoon might be trying to make his case with a touchdown catch. His 5th of the year, his 89th grab. And the Alouettes have grabbed the lead. That kickoff going out, which will give Winnipeg good field position.
Illegal kick.
Let's take a look at the touchdown. That'll be on the 45 for Winnipeg after that kickoff penalty. But Ben Cahoon, 27 times in his career, over 100 yards. And for young players watching this game, this is what you do. This is the front side of the play, but because Brady scrambled out, Ben Cahoon stayed with his route. He came across the field, accelerated across, and from the left of your screen, he doesn't get open till the end of the play, and that's because he never gave up on the play. Even though he was at the left side of the formation, and he ended up right, he didn't quit on the play. He ends up getting a touchdown because of it.
I wonder if there was a little purpose to that spike. It was emphatic. Here's Kevin Glenn, pumps, and now lets her go, and this one up for grabs, and up picked off. Etienne Boulay, the safety, and that was easy pickings for the Alouette safety, his 3rd of the year.
And just like that, the fans here in Winnipeg are booing the home team. Their defense gives up a touchdown, and the very first play, rather than find an answer, which Kevin Glenn has done a nice job this year of doing, he throws an interception in a play that was a communication error on the outside between his intended target. I believe it was Terrence Edwards, who he thought was coming right to the post and ended up staying outside, and there he is. He makes the tackle on Etienne Boulay.
Boulay getting some attention at the bench after the interception. Marcus Brady back to work, and he has Kerry Watkins. And apparently incomplete. Watkins thought he had the catch.
Tried to sell it.
Yeah.
Got up trying to show the official that he had that ball, but Kerry Watkins, the deep threat for this receiving corps. His average is over 16 yards per catch. You compare that to
Want to mention next grab would be his 75th. He's missed 3 games this year and tried to sell it. Didn't look. Must not have been, or they would have reviewed. And that pass over the middle is stuffed immediately by Baggs, Ashland Davis, and it's 2 and out.
And Gavin Walls, he was also involved there. Gavin Walls coming off a pretty good game a week ago. The Winnipeg Blue Bomber rush end's been off and on the roster a little bit in the second half due to injury, but he had a sack last week.
Boy, he was the best player on defense last week against the Argos.
And he was the guy who was really in charge there, sniffing out that little screen pass and forcing Montreal to punt the football.
So the defense responds to the boos they hear from the Canad Inns Stadium faithful. And they'll get the ball back. Robert Bean with the block. Bean's got the block. Bean trying to get the ball. Now Duval's got it, and he's forced out. But Robert Bean with the block, and that sets up the Bombers on offense when we come back to Winnipeg.
There is Bean right there. Pascal Masson, Kerry Carter right there. They have to, one of them has to take the outside guy, the other one the inside threat. They both look inside, and that leaves Robert Bean free off the edge. He gets it Now, he does not have possession of the football, so it goes out. Even though Montreal recovered it, they didn't gain first down yardage, so therefore it's Winnipeg ball. Montreal was arguing that Robert Bean took over possession of the football, then fumbled it, and Montreal recovered, which would make it their ball there, but that's not the case. Bean didn't have possession.
Block punt against Winnipeg was their undoing last week against Toronto at Rogers Center. But here they come up with the block, courtesy of Robert Bean, and it's a first down at the Alouette 12-yard line. Fake to Reed, and the throw is complete. R.J. Franklin is surrounded and nailed at the 8-yard line for Franklin.
It was a bit of an argument from Montreal that Robert Bean, after blocking the kick, as you will see again here, he blocks the kick, and now first down yardage is not gained by Montreal, so it doesn't matter if Montreal recovers it back there. Now, had Robert Bean picked it up and run around with it and then fumbled it again, it would have been Montreal ball there. He didn't, so the fact that Duval picked up that block kick doesn't matter. It's still Winnipeg ball.
So 2nd and 5. Glenn with time. Kevin Glenn has a first down at the 2, or will be close to the first down. Haven't seen much of Kevin Glenn running since he hurt his knee in Hamilton 6 weeks ago.
You know, he actually looks a little bit more mobile now than he has in the past. There he is in the shotgun, and if he doesn't stumble a little bit when he first takes off, big opening up in the middle from him, and that little stumble may have cost him a touchdown. It allowed Montreal to rally. I believe it was Kai Ellis who gets to him.
Middle linebacker comes up with a touchdown-saving tackle there.
That little stumble cost him a split second.
There's the measurement. Glenn comes up a little short, so it will be 3rd and about a foot.
It's time to see if Fred Reed can fly.
Big boys come in. Osterhaus, Jill Leslie.
By the way, John Osterhaus has a touchdown this year in a formation similar to this.
Yes, caught a pass against the Edmonton Eskimos. He has 2 CFL touchdowns, both against Edmonton. There is an injured Montreal defender on the play. Matthew Prue is getting attention.
And at short yardage to go to a guy like Osterhaus to try and on that tight end to fool the defense is one thing when it's 2nd down and you're down on the goal line, or even 1st down on the goal line. More of a gamble if it's 3rd down on the goal line and you're throwing it to the big man who's going to have a lot of pressure on him if he's going to be out there. But no Charles Roberts, so it's up to Fred Reed if they elect to go, and they're a little longer, Chris, than that normal 1 yard that you would guarantee a quarterback sneak. So we'll see.
Well, we're going to take a timeout before this 3rd down gamble. We'll be right back to Winnipeg. Oh, here we go. The ball's on the 2-yard line. It is 3rd down and about a foot. Bombers were out of the gate in impressive fashion with that opening touchdown drive. Since then, not much. And on 3rd down, Kevin Glenn with the surge, which should be enough for a first down.
Well, they sure stuffed it pretty good. The Montreal defense did, at least initially, but you're right, Chris. He may have rolled to that first down. He could get the first down without scoring.
Kashama a little slow to get up at the bottom of that sea of humanity.
It almost looked like he got pushed back right there. It looked like he may have lost a half a step, but kept driving, and Kevin Glenn may have picked up 6-7 inches he needed for the first down. It depends on where they mark it. On 3rd down, you can't challenge it either way.
Kevin not looking certain about this either. Eric Wilson in the middle of that for Montreal, the former Bomber who saw time on both sides of the football for Winnipeg last year, and is in for the injured Devon Claybrooks at defensive tackle.
What DBs do a lot in between plays is go over and talk to the quarterback. And the whole reason for that is to try and get the sequence for the next series. Davis Sanchez over there with Kevin Glenn. Let's take another look inside. It looks like that initial thrust from the defensive line was won by Montreal.
A bobble on the snap.
But Kevin Glenn keeps driving and then rolls to what looks like it could be close.
And you can't really get the measurement because in the line of fire is Kashama, who looked like he may have got kicked in the ribs on that third down gamble.
And I think Kashama was going to be okay. They just take it. But if you put the chain out now, you have to do that. And then that's another 3 or 4 inches in there. So you can't go over playing Kashama, but I think he'll be okay.
Mentioned it earlier because he's had a sack in this game, but between him and Bowman rotating at the one defensive end position, there's the kick into the ribs. And it is first down for the Bombers. But between those two defensive ends, they've combined now for 14 sacks out of that position for Chris Jones's defense. So this all set up by the blocked punt. And now it's 1st and goal. And Dominic Picard, the backup center, is in at tight end wearing number 71. Hayward in the backfield to lead the blocking for Fred Reed. Touchdown with penalty markers on the play.
See what the flag is, but it is Jerome Haywood that's going to lead Fred Reed into the end zone with a big block. He is in the short yardage formation and has been for about half the season for the Bombers.
Offside, Montreal, and there's decline, touchdown.
And Reed has his second rushing touchdown of the night.
And why not put Jerome Haywood in there at 5'9" and almost 300 pounds? It's hard to get leverage on Jerome Haywood because he's such a low football player to the ground as Haywood just drives that hole open. Fred Reed falls right in behind the big guy.
Joy Westwood ties it with the point after. Midway through the second quarter in Winnipeg. Couple of rushing touchdowns in the game for Fred Reed as the Bombers convert after the block punt.
Got the fans back into it too. Fred Reed behind Jerome Haywood.
Everybody back in FLA, baby. Tampa, Florida, baby. That's how we do it. That's how we do it, baby.
I'm guessing it's a little warmer in Tampa, Florida.
All day long, all day.
We'll see what it's like in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Or next week.
Yeah, it could be next week. Montreal wins this game and that first place race is over.
It's definitely next week. Bombers trying to win and hope for some help from their good friends, the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
That's a sentence you will not hear very often. The Bombers and good friends in Saskatchewan.
Ashlyn Davis on the run, takes it. And Stevie Beggs down quickly. Great cover by Beggs as Davis is dropped at the 25. Well, it's the winner of 7 primetime Emmy Awards. 11 teams on a 28-day race around the world with 5 new destinations. The Amazing Race returns for a new season Sunday at 8, 7 Central on CTV.
Montreal Alouettes can't improve their playoff position. They know they're going on the road, so incentive for them too. They'd rather play, if they're going to play Winnipeg in Winnipeg, rather play them next week rather than wait 2 weeks to see what happens with the weather.
Get a little psychological advantage of winning this game. Big Kerry Carter, and he is leveled. Big hit by Doug Brown.
It's been quite a matchup. Brian Chew going with Doug Brown, and when it's been a one-on-one, it's gone about 50-50 so far. That time you can see the get-off by Doug Brown to stand Brian Chew up and then be able to slide to the inside and put that hit on Kerry Carter. Carter's not small either. He's 237.
Brown was heading off and now gets right back into the fray. 2 for Carter, 2nd and 8. Brady running out of time over the middle and incomplete, delivering the ball low to the intended receiver, the running back, Avon Coburn.
Bit of a low throw from Brady to Coburn, but look what they had to do to stop Doug Brown this time. And then you're gonna see Chew and Flory again, 1-2. There's Flory first. He takes him on. Now if he goes inside, Brian Chew's right there, the center. But look what happens in behind him. There's all kinds of Bombers, including Gavin Walls.
Yeah, Walls with a shot on Brady.
That rush from Walls off the edge, because Brown's taking the double team, is why Brady threw it short.
High snap. Duval gets it away. Stokes at his 36. And Stokes will be wrapped up and knocked down. Devereaux was the first man downfield, and Khalid Abdullah finishes the former Alouette off. Keith Stokes.
Well, momentum switching here a little bit for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in their favor. They got the crowd back in it, all starting with that Robert Bean blocked punt to set up the tying score for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So a special teams play, that's been an area of concern for the Bombers heading in the playoffs, has been the lack of production from their special teams. Robert Bean gets a block, Kevin Glenn converts, and all of a sudden a little momentum on the Bomber side.
Quiet first half for Kevin Glenn. First down, Fred Reed, right side, and Reed slows up and just gets back to the line of scrimmage. Let's check back inside the huddle with Danny McManus.
Chris, you guys are absolutely right. This Bomber bench was really down until that Robert Bean block punt. They're doing a good job now, Marcus Brady, making him stay in the pocket. You see him moving his feet around, trying to buy some time. If they can keep him in the pocket, they got him right where they want him. Back to you guys.
Well, the special teams have been a sore spot for Doug Barry most of the year. And last week, it was the undoing against Toronto with the block punt against the Bombers. Robert Bean getting one. Winnipeg's way tonight. Here's Glenn airing it out, and wide open downfield is number 85. Milt Stiegel's got his second grab of the night.
Boy, it's a fine line, that level of confidence when you find it, and it just makes the game look easy because you can't throw it any better if you're Kevin Glenn. Tough throw to make because Stiegel is running out of real estate to the outside. He works on TJ Hill. He's open initially, but look where Glenn leads him. Right to the sideline, so only Milt Stiegel can get his hands on it. TJ Hill was in that chase position.
That matchup continues. He might have a shot at Alan Pitt's record. 30 for Milton, a 50-yard first half so far. And now Kevin Glenn looking for Armstrong. What a catch, Derek Armstrong. Touchdown. The Alouettes will argue, but Derek Armstrong celebrates his 7th major of the year.
Montreal Alouettes anxious to see a replay, as I'm sure the fans are, so here you go.
Mark Estelle in tight coverage.
And there is the catch. Possession gained. The plane of the goal line is crossed. And we'll take a look again from a different angle. Was he out of bounds with the left foot? It looks like the left foot touched inbounds. Now did the ball crossed the plane of the goal line before he was pushed out of bounds?
The challenge flag has been tossed by Jim Pop. Well, your thumbs up, thumbs down regarded this very call.
And does Derek Armstrong survive the contact with the ground right there? As he turns, now he has crossed the plane, and he loses possession way past the goal line, and this is my thumbs down on the season with regards to the Rules Committee.
Player was out of bounds when he caught the ball. We will review the play.
Well, if it's just an issue of out of bounds, this should be a touchdown. And maybe Jim Pop asked for the wrong review.
And that is possible because the coach has to be specific when he goes to the official to say what he would like to see reviewed. So the closer call with the way it's been called this year, and it's been called consistently this year with the officiating, is whether or not the receiver maintains possession after contacting the ground. And they have let this go the officials have been consistent in saying that you have to show possession of the ball after you finish hitting the ground, and even rolling in some cases this year.
That foot's down as he hits the pylon.
But if it's whether or not Armstrong is in or out of bounds, you know, that look and this look clearly shows that that left foot's in bounds with possession, ball crosses the plane there, that should be a touchdown based on in and out of bounds. Now, catch and no catch is likely a little closer.
And both of us believe that is a catch the way it should be ruled, but
yeah,
your thumbs down was because it hadn't been ruled that way all season long. They had really exaggerated the amount of time you had to show you'd survive contact, but
yeah, it just has gone too far the other way. But again, I'm sure that'll be a topic of discussion this year in the offseason with the rules committee, with catch and no catch.
Remember TJ Acree early in the season, he rolled in the end zone once or twice, or at least 1.5 times, and then the ball came out as it did with Armstrong, and they did not rule a touchdown for Edmonton. But again, Jim Popp asked for a ruling on whether he was in bounds or not. So let's see what Bud Steen comes up with from under the hood.
Review, the receiver, as he turned, the ball came loose, went to the ground, and then he took it into his hands. It is an incomplete pass. Second down on the 42-yard line.
So this is interesting because maybe the communication on the challenge was incorrect, because as it came out, Jim Popp, the challenge was clearly whether or not it was a catch or not a catch.
There were some thumbs down there because, like you, they believe.
See, I believe this is a catch and a touchdown traditionally, and I'm sure that this will be discussed. In fact, I know it will be, because I've talked to George Black, the head of officiating, who said they will discuss it in the offseason. But this is a rules committee issue, not an officiating issue, because that has been consistent with the way they've called this season, that has been ruled not a catch because he didn't survive the roll.
And the officials are consistent on the call, and they are again here in defense of Bud Steen. Kevin Glenn in trouble, and he has fumbled the football, and it's still alive. And who's got it? I believe Montreal's come up with it.
Well, did Kevin Glenn fumble this football, or did he try and throw it underhand forward?
It is Montreal football on the fumble recovery by Randy Drew.
Kevin Glenn in the shotgun. And at the end of this play, Anwar Stewart is the high man. He nothing to the play side, so he starts to escape out of the right side. There's the strip.
Abdullah knocked the ball out of his hands.
Just wondering if it looked like Kevin Glenn was trying to throw that ball underhand.
Right.
Because a forward pass can be underhand or overhand, and therefore ruled incomplete. Now, it could be intentional grounding if there's no receiver around and the ball is short of the line of scrimmage.
Winnipeg number 5. Third down.
Well, it is now intentional grounding.
So there you go. No fumble from Kevin Glenn. He threw it underhand as he was being sacked. So here's a great reverse angle for you. That's the underhand throw as he's being caught.
As Abdullah was making the play for the strip.
But again, look, you can see his arm is moving forward. And so therefore, even if it's underhand, that doesn't matter. It is still considered a forward pass, but intentional grounding because the ball did not cross the line of scrimmage and there was no receiver around. So he's called intentional grounding. But for Bomber fans, at least they get to punt the ball.
Jim Popp with a double clutch there. It looked like he was going to toss the challenge flag, and then elected not to. Getting interesting here. Ashlyn Davis on the return, and he is out at the 30-yard line. Under 5 minutes to go, first half. Alouette football. And Avon Coburn is tripped up after a short gain. Just wanted to go back to the challenge because I believe, Glenn, that for the first time since we've had video replay, we have seen an official rule something differently than he announced he was reviewing.
Well, the announced review was whether or not Derek Armstrong was in or out of bounds on the catch. when the review came back, the play was overturned because possession wasn't maintained after contact with the ground.
2 for Coburn, 2nd and 8. And Brady under pressure, and that dropped. Doug Brown is a force in this first half as he gets to the quarterback for sack number 7 on the year.
Here he is getting it done again in that middle. It's Florian Chew. And just will not be denied.
Doesn't look like the tinted visor is slowing him up at all. He says he doesn't like it.
Now, you know, just to wrap up that point on the catch by Derek Armstrong and no catch right after this.
Duval just got that away. And Stokes bounces off first contact, and Walter Spencer's not going to let him go.
Now, it isn't unprecedented that an official will be told on the sideline that the challenge is one thing and notice something under review and then overturn the call or not overturn the call based on what he saw. So basically, what I'm saying is Bud Steen was told to challenge the in or out of bounds, but noticed the lack of possession or what he deemed lack of possession when he was under the hood and therefore ruled that way.
That's fair, but why then do they go to the coach and make the coach be so specific? If there's a play that needs to be reviewed, just review it without being specific about a coach's concerns. Fred Reed with a burst and a good run of 15 yards, but another marker on the play.
I couldn't agree with you more there, Chris. I mean, and they, especially early in the year, you know, with replay, it was ruled that coaches had to be very specific with exactly what they challenged to a point of
procedure. Winnipeg 68, 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
It's the 3rd penalty, I believe, against Andrew Green in the opening half.
But to a point of where head coaches and officials were actually in heated discussions on the sideline as to what was challenged, what was not challenged, be specific on what was challenged. But as it stands, you can, as an official, go under the hood, have one challenge, and then notice something. You can't call penalties because penalties aren't a challengeable play, but you can go under and notice something else that is challengeable and then overturn or not, depending on what you saw.
1st and 15. Reed again, looking for a hole, and he finds it. Fred Reed with a burst, a first down, and cuts it outside, still going. And finally, Etienne Boulay angles him off. That's what Matt Dunigan was talking about. He's not Charles Roberts, but he's providing excitement here in Winnipeg. .249 left, first half here. Plenty to talk about. We'll get the boys to weigh in. Dave Randorf, Matt Dunigan, Jock Climby, and Chris Schultz with their take on what we've seen in the opening 30 minutes.
I liked what I saw there from Fred Reed. Another big block up front and good speed. All-star out of the East and finalist for the Outstanding Offensive Lineman Award up against Rob Murphy of the BC Lions. He opened up the big hole initially for Fred Reed.
43-yard run by Reed. It's a first down for the Bombers. And a fake to Reed. There's Jolese, the fullback, cut down by Chip Cox.
Diamond Ferry, let's go back to that run, Chris. Diamond Ferry is the guy that's going to make the tackle if he can. There he is there, and there is Goodspeed. And watch how Goodspeed is going to take him all the way across the formation, make contact the point of the attack, and wash him right away so that Fred Reed can cut back. Now, in the open field, Reed gets another big block right there. That's a big block by Terrence Edwards, the leading receiver in the Canadian Football League, getting it done down the field. Reed picks up big yards because of those two blocks.
Fred Reed, 7 carries, 75 yards. 2nd and 9, Kevin Glenn from the pocket. And that pass caught by Edwards, but TJ Hill with a sure tackle, making sure Edwards goes nowhere. Just back to the line of scrimmage and maybe one.
TJ Hill has been matched up on Milt Stiegel a couple times. He's been matched up here, and it's often when it's the third receiver on Terrence Edwards. That's Edwards that I just showed you coming all the way across, and it's Hill who tracks him down, and he had to bubble around the rest of the linebacking core. And You know, a couple of catches. Steagles had one against him, and that was a short one, but T.J. Hill's doing okay considering what he's been asked to do.
Guy that has replaced Tim Strickland and Sam linebacker for the Alouettes this year, having a terrific first season in the CFL. And here's Troy Westwood from 30 yards out, trying to break this tie. And Westwood puts it through. Bombers with the lead. So the Bombers lead by 3. Montreal has the football with 1:47 left, first half. They take over on their own 35-yard line. Play action fake by Brady. In pursuit, Gavin Walls. And he brings down Brady. Gavin Walls, who has been on fire in recent games.
Gavin Walls is off the edge, and he has confidence, enough confidence in his speed. He's right here in the defensive line stand-up position. See, he's got enough speed that he can go inside on Kerry Carter and still have the speed to cut Marcus Brady off from getting the corner. Because Brady gets the corner there, he picks up big yards, probably a first down.
Walls' numbers on the year: 31 sacks last 3 seasons. Brady looking downfield. Kerry Watkins wide open. They bear with the tackle, but Watkins to the Winnipeg 42-yard line.
To keep Marcus Brady in contain, the Bombers are going to send their linebacker right here, Neil McKinley, all the way around the corner, and it takes so long for him to get there. Marcus Brady can comfortably sit in the pocket now and wait for his receiver to open up. That's how contained conscience the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are, and he has lots of time to wait for Kerry Watkins.
Watkins with a 32-yard catch. There's an injured Alouette offensive lineman. The left tackle, Skip Seagraves, shaken up. And this is a problem for the Alouettes, who lost Josh Burke last week with a knee. And starting to get thin on a veteran Alouette offensive line. Well, tune into TSN starting Sunday, November the 11th for CFL Countdown. The entire Wendy's CFL on TSN team will be in studio providing in-depth analysis and the keys to each playoff matchup. Live coverage begins at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific, and I'll be tuning in just to see if my partner actually makes a prediction.
I'm not big on those.
No,
but, you know,
nor am I.
I am big on this countdown show because it'll be great to set up the playoffs and stay involved, and I get the chance to go to Saskatchewan, and you think they're a little excited about...
Is there a playoff game there?
Apparently there's a playoff game in Mosaic Stadium this year, first time since 1988. So, and that, of course, was Chris Schultz thumbs up in the pregame show about the turnaround in Saskatchewan, both on and off the field, and the great job that Ken Austin has done leading that football team to a home playoff game. And I'll get the chance to feel just all the excitement and what's going on in that province in that countdown show. And we'll set it up for the viewers. Take a look at the semifinals, and we'll see where we're playing the semifinal based on the results of this game and tomorrow. Because even if the Bombers win, that doesn't end that race.
Bombers with their hands full tonight. Seagraves continues to get attention. Luke Fritz will come in to take a spot on that offensive line, but this is got to be of concern to the Alouette staff.
Just in front of that goalpost, and you could see that left knee. It looked like he rolled under, it just sort of buckled underneath him.
A couple of guys who were regulars on that Alouette offensive line are now pressed into duty again. Both Paul Lambert and now Luke Fritz. And they're going to have to cart big Skip Seagraves off.
Well, Paul Lambert was quoted this week in the newspaper saying that He wanted a chance here to get another chance to play, to show that, I mean, this is a perennial starter, Paul Lambert, that lost his job really to Skip Seagraves. And they're trying to start the cart, and it's a little cool in Winnipeg, and maybe they didn't plug it in.
Yeah, it's that time of the year.
Yeah.
Plug in the batteries out here. And Seagraves waits. Here we go. So last week it was Josh Burke at left tackle. Seagraves moving out there to replace the injured rookie, and now he has to be carted off. And it'll be a new old look for the Alouette offensive line as Luke Fritz will join Paul Lambert on the left side.
Well, 8 starts for Seagraves, and then he also had 5 starts at guard, and then now you got to move Luke Fritz in. Paul Lambert moves back over to guard tonight, so the depth in the offensive line for the Montreal Alouettes as they head into the playoffs, depending on how serious Skip Seagraves is here, becomes a little bit of an issue for Jim Pop. Not good news when that truck has to come out on the field. And I mentioned Paul Lambert and how he was sort of told that this might be 1 or 2 games that he would have to sit out. Skip Seagraves got in there and he was playing so well that 1 or 2 games for Paul Lambert turned into half a season. And he said, whoa, that's how quickly it can disappear. You want to play every down or else the next guy might be as good or better. So Paul Lambert had a chance here to get back in that starting lineup.
And now the depth on that offensive line really in question. Marcus Brady goes back to work, and Kelly Malvo drops what looked like an interception. And this has been an issue for the Bombers defense this year.
This has been the challenge. I mean, this is as good a front 7 as you'll see in football. And then in the secondary, only twice this year has this secondary played together, the same group, the same 5 in back-to-back games. And that was only 2 games. Now, Kelly Malvo has been their best, at least one of their best, and been asked to play all over the place. Linebacker, halfback, safety, corner, doesn't matter. Kelly Malvo plays them all. But they just do not take the ball away. Only 9 total interceptions.
Only 1 game this year they had more than 1 interception. 2nd and 10. Brady fires, and that one knocked away from Eric Delorier, the intended receiver.
And Greg Moss in good position there. He was in coverage coming across on Delorier, and their ability, this secondary for Winnipeg, to cover has not really been the issue. It's been the ability to really turn the ball over. Crossing route from the top of your screen, and you could see Moss with good coverage coming underneath. And in the starting lineup right now, only 5 interceptions total on the season. And they'll force the field goal attempt by Damon Duval, but they could have had a turnover.
Just inside the 50, we'll call it for 49. He has hit from 51 this year. Duval trying to tie this thing back up. And the line drive kick is just wide, and Stokes will bring it out. And circle back. And he'll be held in check at about the 7-yard line with the minute to go. And Duval not happy with that attempt. Let's check back in on the sidelines with Danny McManus.
Chris, on the Bomber bench, Kevin Glenn's talking to receivers about the crossing routes. Montreal linebackers doing a good job of keeping everything in front of him, but he wants to expose just behind him. He sees a lot of openings back there, trying to get the receivers into that area and move the ball downfield. Back to you guys.
So we've seen a couple of deep shots from Kevin Glenn in this game.
Well, and that could be the over and under route where you have one guy like Milt Stegall come underneath, and then maybe Derek Armstrong go up over the top so that the linebackers see one receiver and step up to him, are influenced by that guy, and then Kevin Glenn can throw it in behind him to the next layer. We'll see if that's where Kevin Glenn goes.
From the 7, The fake to Reed. And McManus with a great call. O'Neal Wilson up to the 45-yard line. We told you he's inside the huddle.
Well, this was an out and up down the sideline. A little bit different pattern for O'Neal Wilson, but clearly they have set this up as well, because it's one out after another on Mark Estelle by O'Neal Wilson. And this time, Danny runs the old out and up and down the sideline, and Danny got him.
Yeah, Kevin was asking me what I would run in this situation. I said, throw it deep.
Well, let's see what he does. Oh, he listens to McManus again. Well, that one falls incomplete, looking for Edwards, and a flag on the play.
We'll see what this flag is, and it looks like it's down the field. Kevin Glenn is coming all the way down, so it's as good as a catch down the field. You know, these quarterbacks, Matt Dunnigan is the same way, and I used to play against Matt. When I did, I'd always go out before the game and ask him, what's he goes, you never go wrong.
Interference. Montreal 22. First down, Winnipeg.
You never go wrong when you go long. And there's Danny McManus said, go deep. Kevin Glenn said, go deep. Matt Dunnigan, all these quarterbacks love to go deep, and it's paying off right now for Glenn. That's back-to-back plays.
Turns out to be a 26-yard penalty and a first down for the Bombers at the 40. Now Fred Reed found the hole, and Reed romping and still going, twisting down to the 12. What a performance he's put on in this first half. And Fred Reed, I believe, has got over 100, or right at it, in this opening half of football.
And he is taking advantage of some good blocking up front. Again, look, untouched at the line of scrimmage, and it's the secondary that's having to tackle Fred Reed.
26 for Reed. He's at 101 in this first half, and Dario Romero is down, and he'll get attention.
To 36 seconds. 3-6.
So they reset the clock, which have been allowed to run down. There's still plenty of time. 36 seconds left, and remember, this started at the Bombers 7. I wasn't sure with a minute to go whether they wouldn't play it very cautious, but then McManus got into the playbook, and
they go deep a couple of times. That sets up the run to Fred Reed, and right now the Bombers are taking advantage on the run game to Diamond Ferry. Diamond Ferry is going to commit and be blocked by Abi Khan, the center. He gets blown out of the hole, and that's where Fred Reed runs. Really, the run stopper for the Montreal defense is Kai Ellis. But if they play those linebackers split in the backfield there, then the Bombers can pick on one or the other. And right now they're going after Diamond Ferry.
so Romero makes his way to the sidelines. The fans are on him because, in their opinion, he just took a knee here to buy some time for the Alouettes.
And you know, the downside for the Montreal Alouettes in doing that, yes, it may stop a little momentum, but they lose Romero for 3 plays.
Randy Spencer in. First down. Kevin Glenn looking for Stiegel. And Milt wants a call. TJ Hill was in coverage.
TJ Hill hanging on. This is that matchup we've talked about. He's been matched up on Terrence Edwards quite a few times against Milt Stiegel. He takes inside position. Stiegel, just nice little move, and then he goes back to the corner, and now Hill's in trouble. That's the penalty that the fans want after watching the replay on the big screen, because TJ Hill dives and grabs Stiegel's hand. Now, was that a catchable football, or was that thrown out of bounds is another question.
Or have we reached our quota of first half flags? So it's 2nd and 10, 23 seconds left.
I don't know about you, but one's a good quota for me when it comes to that kind of thing.
We've had a lot more than that in this first half. Kevin Glenn with a gun that is dropped. Milt Stiegel over the middle, and Glenn won't throw it any harder than that.
Well, and this is what Danny McManus was talking about with those crossing routes. Now, we saw O'Neal Wilson on the sideline. That's a little different. Here's the crossing route that Danny McManus talked about, going just behind the linebackers. Again, a little bit of contact on Stiegel. Kevin Glenn throws a dart across the middle, and Stiegel just can't hang on. I think it was Randy Drew who just distracted him a little bit. But that's the crossing route that we just talked about.
About a half dozen drops last week in Toronto. We've seen Milt make that catch for a few touchdowns. Westwood for 3, and with 16 seconds left, it's a 6-point Winnipeg lead. Alouettes taking a knee. Their possession starts at the 35, and Marcus Brady content to kill the clock here and get to the room after, I think, the longest first half of the year.
It was a long one, but this is a good decision. I mean, you don't want to force anything in your own end, and you want it when you're on the road, stay close. The Montreal Alouettes are close, although they don't have much momentum right now.
They are in the game. They had the lead, but the Bombers have roared back with 13 straight points and lead at the half. Marcus Brady will be coming out then to start the second half as the Alouettes receive the opening kickoff from Troy Westwood. That got by Davis. He lets it go out, and so the field position will be the 45 as Davis wisely allowed it to sail out.
Winnipeg number 7.
Mistake there by
first down.
Mr. Westwood, who has been under the gun all season long. Troy Westwood had to once again this week go through a tryout process with Doug Barry, and this time was 21 of 24 in the field goal range inside of 40. That's why Westwood kept his spot. Looks like they'll go with Westwood as the kicker, but that was a mistake because great field position when you kick it out of bounds. 45-yard line is a perfect place to start.
First down give to Coburn, and Avon Coburn has 5 to the 50-yard line. 50-yard line. Let's compare the quarterback's numbers in the opening half.
Here's Marcus Brady. Talked about Marcus Brady using his legs a little bit. 117 yards. Most of those yards when he got outside of the pocket. Kevin Glenn got a little hot second half of that second quarter. And that music in the background, thanks to Bon Jovi.
That is Bon Jovi.
And Bon Jovi starts his Canadian tour soon, and We Got It Going On is the name of the song, and it's a good one.
2nd and 5. Here Brady flushed. And Marcus Brady will be, well, good second effort. Bounced off the contact of Moss. Let's see where forward progress is marked. Looks like it'll be about a yard short of a first down.
There's contact over there on that sideline. Brady doesn't get out of bounds or hook slides. Takes the hit from Greg Moss. A big block on the edge by Dave Mudge, who kept Gavin Walls from cutting Brady off and allowing him to get to that corner. Doug Barry mentioned it going in at halftime. When they've lost contain, they've been in trouble.
Was a yard, maybe 4 feet short of the first down, and Jim Pop decides not to gamble near midfield. And so Duvall on to kick. Wind at his back. Not a deep kick. Played at the 22, and Stokes nearly slipped away, but he's brought down at the 25-yard line. Alouettes have won 23 of the last 33 meetings between these two teams. However, Bombers going for the sweep this year. Won the first 2, lead by 6, pressure on, the screen, and Diamond Ferry there to finally drag down Fred Reed. Let's join Sean Churchill with an injury update.
Yes, guys, Abi Khan will not be back in this game. He is likely done for the season. He has a torn tricep muscle, which is really going to basically cost his season, and a huge blow, but Dominic Picard will help him out, backing him up at center, guys.
Well, that's terrible news in what has been nothing but a frustrating season for Abi Khan. The virus that set him back in training camp, he lost 50 pounds, came back at arthroscopic knee surgery, and now this. There's a pass over the middle, heavy contact, but the catch is made with Diamond Ferry. dishing out a punishing hit, but Derek Armstrong hangs on.
Well, this is where Diamond Ferry is at his best. He's in the middle, number 40. You can see him just to the right. When he's dropping in the coverage, Diamond Ferry is a little quicker, and Armstrong double clutches that one, pulls it in just in time, because that was a good hit over the middle.
Doug Barry saying earlier this year that maybe as good a second down play as they have is just to throw to him, because even well covered, Armstrong will make the catch 8 times out of 10 in traffic. He gives him a first down. Kevin Glenn to the air, looking for Terrence Edwards. Incomplete. Edwards trying to slide in between Davis Sanchez and the safety Etienne Boulay.
Protection is starting to improve for Kevin Glenn, and you can see now that he has had time to throw. He's a little off on that one and the read, but Dan Goodspeed, the outstanding lineman nominee and finalist out of the East, does a nice job right there on Dario Romero. He's played well in this game in the first half, had a couple of big blocks to open up running lanes for Fred Reed, who's over 100 yards, and there's a reason why he's an all-star this year.
And the top offensive lineman from the East up against Rob Murphy. In the final awards, Kevin Glenn overthrowing Milt Stegall. Well, that ball should have been picked off, and Chip Cox kicks it in frustration as it falls incomplete.
That's a couple of throws that were off the mark a little bit for Kevin Glenn, because he again had time to throw the football there. Really not a lot of pressure. He steps up into a throwing lane, but watch the protection. Again, it was just this time 3-man pressure from Montreal, so he had more time than he thought he did. But look at how far overthrown Milt Stegall is on that play.
So Pat Fleming to punt. Into the wind, a short line drive that'll finally bounce into the hands of Ashlyn Davis, who escapes the first pressure. Can he turn the corner? Well, he runs into R.J. Franklin. Otherwise, he had a big return. 42-yard kick, 9 on the comeback. For every sack in tonight's game, Purolator donates the quarterback's weight in food to a local food bank. Purolator is the official courier of the CFL, tackling hunger across Canada.
Both the Lions and Argos play tomorrow. Winnipeg needs to get on their horse to try and win that battle.
Doug Brown, the lone sack for the Bombers in this game. Montreal has 2. Dangerous pass thrown. And Coburn's not going to get back to the line of scrimmage. That's the loss of a couple as we go back to the sidelines and join Danny McManus.
Chris, as Jim Pop said, he'd like to get Jason Moss in this game, but he's sticking with Marcus Brady. And talking to Jason Moss, he's hoping that he gets in, because with this weather, he's really getting cold. It's going to take that much longer for him to warm up, but he's looking to get some action tonight if he can.
Danny, based on your play calling for the Bombers late in the first half, what do you got for Montreal? We want to see them go deep.
Didn't quite catch you guys.
I can tell you what he wanted to do. He wants them to go deep.
Go deep. Yeah. Let's see if Brady does. Well, downfield, and this one is picked off. Kyrus Seibert. He'll lateral it across. Greg Moss has got it. There is a flag down. Couple of markers, and Moss finally taken down at the 23-yard line. A marker down before the interception and one afterwards. Let's find out what the officials have.
Marcus Brady locked into the target. That's why Carissa Bear could flow to the football. He's going to lock in. Watch as you run the play. Go ahead and run it. Carissa Bear not on the screen. Now he is. Hold it if you can, guys. There he is now. See, he's telegraphing the ball, and there goes Kyrus Bear right there, breaking on the football. He never, ever flipped his hips over, so he gets the good jump. See what the penalty flag is. I thought it was after the interception.
2 different infractions. The Bombers.
There's no infraction on the play other than the illegal forward pass. Winnipeg, first down.
So one flag picked up, the other was a concern about a forward lateral.
Well, they marked where it happened with the flag and then pick it up afterwards, but it was a forward lateral by Hebert. to Greg Moss, but a nice jump on the football from the free safety spot. You have a quarterback telegraphs and never changes the hips of the free safety. In other words, you have to, by your look, flop the hips over so a bear thinks you're going the opposite way and turns that way. If he doesn't, he gets that good jump, and he was all over that football.
Bear with his 3rd interception of the season to lead the Bombers in that department, just the 10th for the team. Fred Reed cuts back right into traffic and not going anywhere. Eric Wilson there, Diamond Ferry.
I'll just show you one more time what I'm talking about with the free safety and the quarterback, and this is a cat and mouse game that goes on. Watch Bears, his hips are going to be in this angle right here facing that direction. And what Marcus Brady has to try and do, see, as his hips are turned that way, it's his natural progression to go ahead and break to the football that direction. If Brady holds him by looking the opposite direction, he can cause a bear to turn that way, and then it's harder to get back to the football. But look who's warming up now.
Jason Moss getting ready. 2nd and 11. Kevin Glenn looking downfield for Stiegel. Out of bounds, no catch. On what is likely to be the final regular season game of a brilliant CFL career.
Really has been, and again, more time to throw for Kevin Glenn, and this is a play that takes a while to develop. 3-man pressure and 6 men into block, and Kevin Glenn, no one around him, but it is a great career, Chris. It's automatic for Milt Stiegel in the Hall of Fame, and I talked to him before. I asked him one more time, Milt, could you come back next year? He said, if you make a comeback, I will. I said, oh, can we make it about something else? But that's not happening.
Troy Westwood from 49 yards out, his longest of the year, 42. He's made just 2 from outside 40, and he misses this one. So Westwood now 2 for 11 from outside 40, and this is the problem when you miss a long one. Ashlyn Davis on the return, but there is a marker behind him as he gets all the way out to the 48. Welcome back to Canad Inns Stadium, where the Bombers have the lead. 9 minutes left, 3rd quarter, 6-point advantage. Marcus Brady, who almost beat the Alouettes in a playoff game in 2003 when with the Toronto Argonauts, will be the man at the helm for the Alouettes in a playoff game that could very well be against these Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
But he's going to have to pick it up a little in this game, I think, Chris. I mean, I agree with you. He's the front runner to take this team through the playoffs as the starter. But he is starting to bog down a little bit. We saw Jason Moss starting to warm up. He put the jacket back on, but you get the feeling that this might be the drive that makes the decision for Jim Popp. And maybe it's just a change for a series or two.
This has been a story. Consistency for Brady. He has shown flashes of brilliance. Beat the BC Lions with the 300-yard passing game. Last week, 260 against Calgary in 3 quarters. 2nd and 8. Here comes the rush. Once again, Brady running. And looks downfield, and Elijah Thurman drops the ball.
Well, if in fact this was the series to determine whether or not Brady gets another series, then he should get another one, because as the quarterback, he can't play it any better. First of all, he uses his great ability to escape to get outside, and you can't throw it any better. Right? That's perfect throw in traffic, and Elijah Thurman just has to come up with that play. I mean, this is where I would love to see, and Chuck Climbing said in the pregame show, I'd love to see next year in the stats that receivers get the X for that one, that they get the minus for that one, and the quarterback doesn't get it. He doesn't get the incompletion. The receiver does.
It would be great to have that stat available, really be a better gauge of how sure-handed the best receivers in the league are. Just getting it away was Duval. And here's Stokes, who has provided a little bit of energy to the Bomber punt returns.
So maybe Marcus Brady gets another series. And you know, Brady reminds me a lot of Kevin Glenn early in his career. And what you always watch from Kevin Glenn, remember, when he was with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and by the way, with Marcel Belfait, the offensive coordinator at that time for Montreal, but he had his moments, right? You watched Kevin Glenn and you thought, you know, this guy could be, and then a game later you go, well, maybe not. And you see the same thing with Marcus Brady.
Takes one way, looks for Stiegel, and there's a drop.
But it wasn't until really this year for Kevin Glenn that the doubters disappeared, and it was because of his consistency. Now, his numbers have dropped a little bit, but Kevin Glenn is still playing great football and a finalist for outstanding player. So let's not by any means take anything away from his tremendous season. And he's had drops as well, especially last week. So if you look at that and make the comparison, Marcus Brady's very similar in a lot of ways, but he has to put more than one game together at a time. He's got to put 3 or 4 together.
Of course, Brady hasn't had the luxury of about 30 starts in the last 2 years. But Reed, and a tackle by Abdullah. Marcus Brady has had the luxury. I find it interesting that he has been the understudy to Damon Allen, Danny McManus, Anthony Calvillo. If you're going to back up, you might as well pick the 3 best that are the 3 of the best that have ever played.
Well, he sure has shown signs.
So Westwood will try another 40-plus field goal. This from 43.
This might be must-make for Troy Westwood.
And this time he misses it the other way. And Davis is going to bring this one out. And Ashlyn Davis out to the 21-yard line. The frustration for Troy Westwood. And Doug Barry can't hide it. So the frustration continues for Troy Westwood. 2 for 4, made from 30 and 21, but has missed 2 40-plus. And Marcus Brady fumbles the football. And who's got it? Looks like Paul Lambert got it back, or did Marcus Brady got his own ball back? Somehow the Bombers missed picking up the loose football. Penalty marker on the play.
Bombers missed the loose football, and the Montreal Alouettes missed a couple of blocks.
Holding Montreal 61. The penalty is declined. 2nd down.
That's Luke Fritz, who's in for the injured Skip Seagraves in the second half.
Top of your screen, and he's going to go one-on-one. I believe it's on Stevie Baggs, who comes around the corner. He's the guy who causes the fumble. And somehow 3 Bombers run by it, including Jerome Haywood. So Luke Fritz gives up the sack, but he could consider himself lucky.
2nd down and long, and Brady looking long for Delorier, and Eric Delorier comes down with it. What a catch by the rookie. 6'4", 206, and Delorier uses the size to make a huge catch.
Well, he uses his size, but he also uses great timing. I mean, this is a Delorier down the sideline who waits for the perfect time to jump so that when he does, he is at the height of his jump when he comes down, and a simultaneous catch goes to the offense. So even though Greg Moss had his hands right in there all over the football, the simultaneous catch goes to the offense, and Delorier comes up with a big one.
44-yard grab, that's his longest in the CFL, and this is rookie year. And at midfield, Brady throws this one over the head of Ashlyn Davis. Probably threw that away with Gavin Walls turning up the heat.
But you see what Gavin Walls had to do. This is what Marcus Brady does to a rush in. It kind of freezes him. Here he is here, and watch when he gets up the field and is wide open, and it's just him and Marcus Brady. Now, Brady doesn't have a target, so he has to throw it away. But look, Walls can't go. He doesn't want to go after Marcus Brady. He wants to just wait, make him throw it from the pocket. He didn't have a receiver, so he had to throw it away. But that's taking away Gavin Walls' ability to just go after quarterbacks.
Marcus Wynn comes in. Jerome Haywood checks out. 2nd and 10. Alouettes. And Brady gets it away quickly. And Kelly Malvo. No, he stole it. Elijah Thurman took it away from Malvo, who was bobbling a potential interception.
Kelly Malvo just kept the ball alive to give Thurman another chance. He had one earlier in the game in his hands that he dropped. Pressure coming right down the middle. I believe it was Marcus Wynn on the pressure, but look how Malvo keeps it alive, and then it's Thurman who fights his way back into the play and then comes up with a catch, and this drive stays alive for Montreal. That's twice now that Kelly Malvo had interceptions go through his hands.
Bounced right off his numbers. It's a 25-yard pickup. Kerry Carter bulldozing and still going down to the 16-yard line, and Carter's got a first down.
Amazing turn of events for Marcus Brady, who starts this drive by fumbling the football on a hit from the backside by Stevie Baggs. It looks like disaster for Montreal, but the Alouettes hang on. They find a way to save Luke Fritz by recovering, and Marcus Brady covers his own fumble. Delorier makes a big catch. Fritz is bailed out by a couple of big catches by the receivers, and they're on the doorstep.
And you mentioned off the top of the show, the Bombers have had trouble getting turnovers, interceptions. It's costing them on this drive. Brady into the end zone, and Ben Cahoon unable to pull it down with Anthony Malbro in tight coverage.
Contained Conscience on the outside. And they're both defensive ends or linebackers for Winnipeg concerned with Brady running.
Well, it's been an unusual drive, getting set for the 7th play. And that catch by Elijah Thurman will go down as one of the stranger ones we've seen on Friday night this season. 2nd and 10, penalty marker, and Budstein stops play. And it's a time count violation, I believe.
Time count violation. Montreal number 8, 5-yard penalty. Repeat, 2nd down.
So it will be 1st and 15.
Tell you what, this drive has really exposed again for Winnipeg too. If they have two concerns, and Doug Barry does, it's in his secondary that have given up 2 big plays here on this drive, and his kicking game that really got things started when Westwood missed.
Second and 15 after the time count. Here comes pressure and a huge hit there. Gavin Walls smokes Marcus Brady.
Well, he waited because he knew he had a linebacker in contained. So Gavin Walls is going to take a full inside rush on Dave Mudge. He lines up here, and he has been out here like this a bunch. So Mudge is going to step out like he's going to do that again, but this time it's a jab step and an inside rush from Gavin Walls. And look at the step.
Helmet violation.
Right there,
Montreal
an inside move,
10-yard penalty,
and Walls is free. And then someone took their helmet off and gets a penalty.
The original sack was a loss of 11. Didn't get the number on who took the helmet off. So that'll make it a long field goal attempt.
I went from a chip shot to you never know.
Well, they were down at the 16-yard line. Now from 49 yards out, wind at his back, and Duval is going to miss that one to the left. And Stokes straight ahead. Keith Stokes caught from behind. Avon Coburn finally brings him down, but Stokes adding a dangerous element on special teams. 54-yard return of the missed field goal by Stokes sets up the Bombers, and here's Reed off the left side up to midfield. He has close to 6. Matt Dunnigan had thumbs down to the field goal kicker's percentage prior to the game, and Troy Westwood and Damon Duval, a pair of veterans, have combined to go 0 for 4 outside the 40 so far tonight.
When you miss a big one, the returners in the game are just too good. Keith Stokes, in his first game, At an over 11-yard average in punt returns. His return, it's a slim trim.
Yes.
Keith Stokes.
15 pounds lighter. And he does look quick. Glenn in trouble, and he is brought down. So Kashama with the sack, and that's his second of the game. Dario Romero was in on the play as well.
Defenses on both sides in the front sevens picking it up a little bit. Dario Romero in the interior of that defensive line. And it looked like Andrew Green, who's having a bit of a tough game tonight. Andrew Green has played very well, a 10-year veteran. He had 3 penalties tonight, and he gave up that sack right there to Dario Romero.
That was a race to the quarterback between Romero and Kashama. Forces third down, and Ashland Davis going west instead of north, and now he'll be dropped at the 18-yard line.
Interesting, that last Montreal offensive drive, though. When you look at some of the challenges Winnipeg has and concerns, Greg Marshall, the defensive coordinator, his concern is the secondary. The front seven has been their strength without question. In that last drive for Montreal, they gave up 2 big plays in the passing game when receivers out-jumped and out-fought their secondary for the football. Montreal did. But who bailed them out? Gavin Walls in the front seven. So again, the strength of the defense is that front seven. Secondary, that's where there is some concern.
So at the 18, the Alouettes go to work on offense, and Brady guns downfield for Delorier again. Pass behind him, and just out of the reach of the defender, Greg Moss. Well, TSN is your home for NFL Sunday and Monday night football every week. Join us this Sunday. The Dallas Cowboys take on the Philadelphia Eagles with coverage starting at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Time winds down here in the third quarter. 2nd and 10 for Brady and the Alouettes. 4 receivers wide side. And looking that way. That ball dropped. Harry Watkins and Malbrough in a little pushing match on the final play of the third quarter. 15 minutes left, a 6-point Winnipeg lead. Third quarter stats are brought to you by Rona, the Canadian how-to people.
You know, the game is close, and so are the stats. Lots of penalties in this game. That's been a difference maker, and maybe why Montreal is down a little bit. They have a little more in the penalty yardage area, but game's still in the balance, without question.
On our final Friday night of the season.
You know, and it's great because, you know, we're the ones that the fans hear all the time and see on camera all the time, and guys in the studio, but there's a lot of guys behind the scenes that deserve a lot of credit for what happens every Friday night, starting with our producer down in the truck, John Hines, and of course Mitch Kersner, who works with the other crew when we're off on the road, and our director Paul Hemming and Andy Boyukas. We have our stats guy up in the corner here, Dave Moyer, along with Johnny Russin, who also does that, statistics, and our ISO directors, Chris Edwards and Jeff McLeod, and of course our leader in it all is Jim Marshall, our executive producer. And when it comes to Friday night and how the tradition started 11 years ago, never far from our thoughts is the late Paul McLean.
There's Stokes with another promising return, but a penalty marker on that play. But yes, it's been a good season. My favorite Friday night was here when Milt broke the all-time touchdown record. This building was electric. And along the way, there's probably been a few missed curfews, but we've had a lot of fun.
A lot of fun, and then there's a lot of guys. I can't name them all, of course, but everybody, all the camera operators and engineers, the guys that are out there in the elements, getting the great shots when Milt Stegall crosses the goal line and sets a little CFL history like he did in Week 5 versus the Hamilton Tiger Cats. But lots of people to thank, and lots of people
block,
that...
Winnipeg 27, that penalty is declined. We have holding Winnipeg 52 with a kick in flight. The penalty will be applied at the point that the kick was received, 10 yards, first down.
And you know what? Every one of those guys that I just mentioned have a real passion for the Canadian Football League, and that's why the quality of the broadcast is what it is.
I was going to say that Dave Moyer gets enough promotion, but keeping tracks of the penalties tonight, he deserved that extra mention.
That calculator is smoking.
Yes, it is. From the 22, Fred Reed. And Reed, who's had over 100 in the opening half, powers his way up to the 29-yard line.
You know, peace of mind there for Doug Barry than you think of Fred Reed, though. We've talked a little bit about his concerns going into the playoffs, but for Doug Barry, I mean, he's got to have a little peace of mind. Charles Roberts has that thigh bruise, and he'll be in for the playoffs, but boy, does he have a pretty good-looking backup.
He does indeed. 2nd and 4. And there's a completion. And jolted hard out of bounds is R.J. Franklin, but he holds on. Looks like there might be an injured Alouette on the play.
You know, it's also a Friday night, and I've got my eyes on a couple of guys when it comes to what night that means, which is Gladiator night. One of them is a finalist for Outstanding Lineman, and Dan Goodspeed, boy, we haven't talked about Anwar Stewart. I don't know if we've even mentioned his name. Alain Kashama a little bit, but when you're not mentioning the rush ends, that means the tackles are doing their thing, and Dan Goodspeed's putting together a pretty good game.
Boundary corner Mark Estelle shaken up after that last tackle on R.J. Franklin, so we will step out here early in the 4th quarter. Well, Mark Estelle, who has been bothered by a bad ankle throughout this season, hobbling off. Not sure if that's the problem here after the tackle on R.J. Franklin. That gives the Bombers a first down.
A couple of guys banged up in this game. Both teams losing an offensive lineman in the game.
Kobe Reinhardt will come on to take Estelle's spot on the corner.
There's a couple of front runners tonight. I like Dan Goodspeed as a guy that's a possible for Gladiator tonight. There's a few others. Stevie Baggs is playing well. Fred Reed's playing well for the Bombers. Randy Drew in the secondary for Montreal Alouettes has made some plays back there.
I'd be impressed with the way Goodspeed's battled back off a knee injury last year. Here's Reed, a first down carry. Not much there off the left side.
Well, every Friday night, even in the double headers, we'll pick 2, but it's the Gladiator. It's not the stats leader. We've got some quarterbacks in there, some big names. Chris, you mentioned this night as one of your favorites for Friday Night Football when Milt Stegall broke the record, and he didn't just get the Gladiator for that record because he put together a great game.
I think that was 140 yards and a couple of touchdowns in that game for Milt. Jesse Lumsden had a huge Friday night against these Bombers.
There's a couple of other Gladiators, Baron Simpson and Doug Brown.
2nd and 9, pressure on Glenn, who escapes. And looking for Reed, throws this out at the Winnipeg bench.
You know, and we got some running backs on the list. Joe Smith from the BC Lions, Week 10.
Speaking of Gladiators, yeah.
Holding.
Yeah, and it
Winnipeg
doesn't get
66. Penalty is declined. 3rd down.
Doesn't get much better than the Joe train when you're looking for Gladiators. Remember Charlton Keith's big game, the Hamilton Tiger Cats? It was Keith's first game in the Canadian Football League.
You got Jonathan Brown and Doug Brown, both who are finalists for awards.
So this is our final night, and a couple of front runners we've got our eyes on. We don't make the final decision until we get closer to the end of the game, and whoever wins it gets that great Movado Series 800 watch.
And don't think that doesn't get a lot of attention in the dressing rooms post-game. Ashland Davis collared and brought down at the 43-yard line. Yes, we're huddled around the fire watching Friday Night Football, or the Frostfighter on the Bomber bench. Still no scoring in the second half. It's still a 6-point Winnipeg lead and a completion to Ashlyn Davis between Ike Charlton and Barron Simpson.
That last formation, the Montreal Alouettes put Avon Coburn way out at wide receiver. And Cam Hall had to track him out there because that declared Winnipeg was playing man-to-man. Now, they didn't throw it to him, but Coburn took off and ran just a straight go route, one-on-one on Cam Hall. And that may be something that Montreal noticed and goes back to. One thing it does is it declares coverage for Marcus Brady. If you take a linebacker outside to cover your running back who's way out as a wide receiver, you know it's man-to-man. And Cam Hall in charge of covering that back. So it makes it easy for Marcus Brady to read the defense, and then they may get a matchup that they like.
As you can see, it was a first down catch. The ball at the Alouette 53. Winnipeg needs a win to keep their first place hopes alive. And the Alouettes trying to kickstart this offense in pursuit of a 9-9 season. Trying not to fall below 500 for a year for the first time. There's a dangerous pitch that on a hop found Coburn.
Wow, I can't believe how nonchalant Coburn was with that ball bouncing off the turf. I mean, let's remember the shape of a football. I mean, you're not going to get a true bounce. And watch how Avon Coburn just comes out on this option. That's pitched into space. And it just bounces off. It gets a nice bounce to him, but Coburn wasn't panicking at all. He just said, okay, this is like a bounce pass in basketball. I got you. Just one hop it up, and there we go. That thing could have gone anywhere. That's not ground.
Stevie Baggs with the hit on Brady as he released the football. It's 2nd and 7, and here comes pressure. Brady scrambling. Doug Brown's got him lined up, and the pass is caught but incomplete. Out of bounds is Ben Cahoon at the Alouette bench.
Just ran out of room because as Cahoon starts working back, and one thing I talked to Cahoon about yesterday, I said, what's the difference between going from maybe the best combination in football, which was Anthony Calvillo and Ben Cahoon, and maybe the CFL's history, to working with Marcus Brady? He said, I had to brush up on my scramble rules, meaning Brady's going to scramble around a lot. So what are the receivers' rules when he does scramble? He ran out of room there, but generally speaking, the rules are the deep receivers come back, the short receivers go deep.
And Duval kicking into the breeze in the fourth quarter. A one-hopper to Stokes. And Stokes well contained there, and again Walter Spencer in on the stop as he's going after the special team tackle lead for the year. Well, we continue to be scoreless in the second half. 6-point Bomber lead. I'm not sure if the game ended right now whether Winnipeg fans would feel any more encouraged about their team heading to the postseason.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about sort of the lack of enthusiasm about ticket sales for the playoff game here in Winnipeg.
High shotgun snap. The handoff to Reed going nowhere. Bowman is there. In on the tackle with Diamond Ferry as we go back inside the huddle. And Danny McManus.
Chris, as I was huddling with the Montreal guys next to the heater because it's getting kind of cold down here, they were saying that it's time to make a play. They've had some opportunities, some dropped interceptions right in their hands. They all want to go out there and make a play. They feel at this point they should have the lead. Feels like defense got to put the points on the board for them tonight.
Well, they're already without Mark Estelle, Kobe Reinhardt in there. Now, he has had playing time, but a guy that's done that in this season for them has been Randy Drew, the rookie that should have been. And again, no slight to Nick Setta, who's had a great year. But the degree of difficulty for Randy Drew and his job, a little different, I would say. But there are playmakers in that defense that could come up with a play like that.
Well,
Chip Cox, one of them.
Bombers are backed up here. They take a holding call on Jill Leslie, the fullback, so it's 1st and 20. From back at the 13, the screen is contained as Fred Reed is gang tackled.
You know, I just get back to that point quickly about Randy Drew, and I touched on it a second ago, but the nominee for Rookie of the Year for the Montreal Alouettes, and you know, maybe the best kicker in the field goal department was Nick Setta this year. Randy Drew, as a rookie, was asked to cover Jason Tucker, Arland Bruce, Milt Stiegel, G. Roy Simon, Ben Cahoon. I mean, well, not in practice, Ben Cahoon, but as you go through the list, that's the best receivers in the league.
Here's 2nd and 20. And that long out is caught by Armstrong, but short of the first down. Well, I agree with you, but I think you could make a pretty good case for Cam Hall as well here in Winnipeg.
Yeah, I don't mind that one, but the degree of difficulty was missed. And
Right.
this is just a mistake in the voters. And again, Nick Setta had a great year. So, you know, don't think that it's a shot on Nick Setta. But that is the rookie nominee out of the East. Randy Drew should have been the finalist.
Here's a guy that the Alouettes deemed their best defensive player this season. Not just the best first-year player. And that ball hits one of the blockers downfield. And let's sort this out. Well, TSN is your home for NFL Sunday and Monday Night Football every week. Join us Monday as the Baltimore Ravens take on the Steelers in Pittsburgh. Coverage starting at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific in TSN HD.
No yards. Winnipeg. 5-yard penalty. First down.
So great field position for the Alouettes with 9:11 to go. Looks like Brady's going all the way at quarterback tonight for Montreal. Still trailing by 6, and Bud Steen has marched the ball to the Winnipeg 51. Well, not the performance we saw a week ago in Calgary when Marcus Brady looked so sharp, engineering 420 yards of offense in that game. 260 through the air in 3 quarters of work. To Coburn up the middle as they give you a reverse look, but Coburn the ball carrier, and he has 8.
And what about if and when Jarrett Payton can get back in the lineup for the Montreal Alouettes and they come back to play the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the playoff game, depending on where Winnipeg finishes and all that. But what we talked about earlier with Brady getting outside and all his running ability, the inside run game is how you can counter it if you're stopped getting to the corner.
Like to have Payton on 2nd and 2. Instead, they throw, and out of the backfield is Coburn. He has the first down, brought down by Ike Charlton. The Alouettes move a little bit closer.
Because basically speaking, if, you know, like we talked about with Marcus Brady, right? Like he's pushing the edges, and it puts the Vine and Stevie Baggs and Gavin Walls outside, and it widens the defensive line. So then the next step for the Montreal offense would be to try and attack in here if they're protecting out here, right? But they haven't really done that. Now they don't have Jarrett Payton.
At the 36, they fake inside. The option wasn't there one way, but Marcus Brady turns it the other. Backside for a first down to the 23, and a late flag there. There was also a penalty marker on the front side of the play.
Gavin Walls was down, and I think he was working against Luke Fritz.
So we know Barron Simpson, a late hit on the quarterback. I believe the initial call was going against the Alouettes.
Barron Simpson may be arguing, did Marcus Brady slide feet first or head first?
Illegal contact. Winnipeg 51. Penalty is declined. Piling on. Winnipeg 51. Half the distance.
Both were against Barron Simpson.
So Luke Fritz did not get called on the holding, and let's Barron Simpson named to the All-Star team for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on defense. Now, if Marcus Brady slides feet first, he cannot be hit. Well, Simpson with a little more on the elbow, possibly.
And up on the helmet.
But remember, there's a difference between a feet first slide and a head first slide.
So the ball down to the 11-yard line. And Coburn straight ahead to the 8, has 3.
And that's where Jarrett Payton comes in, because now that the Montreal Alouettes have pushed the edge, have got outside a couple times with Brady. Now you see them going into that inside running game. But Avon Coburn is just not the big, huge power back that Jarrett Payton is, so their production on first down drops a little bit because of it. Coburn's an outside guy. He's a guy in space.
This has been an issue for Montreal all year long. Failure to capitalize inside the 10, including an earlier loss against Winnipeg. Brady to the end zone, and that ball incomplete. Intended for Kerry Watkins, who's had a quiet night.
Robert Bean was all over. And, this is just great coverage, because I think Bean gave up inside position. Down in this area, the defensive back wants to take away the inside in a big way. It's going to come to the right of your screen. And Bean, playing on the corner, loses that inside position, but he gets right over top the back and across the front of Kerry Watkins in time so that he's not interfering with Watkins, but makes a huge recovery.
Remember earlier this year, Montreal stopped on the 1. The Bombers drive 109 yards and win the game. Duval will attempt a 15-yarder. 3 to get within 3. And with 6:39 to go, it's 20-17. So the first points of the second half off the toe of Duval. It's a 3-point Winnipeg lead as they scrimmage at their own 35. Play action, looking deep, and overthrowing the intended receiver, Derek Armstrong.
Who was open. Kevin Glenn will look at that film and he'll say, I need to put some more air on the football when I have a receiver open and inside like that. I mean, you're going to see the trajectory of the football a little flat here from Kevin Glenn. He does get it up there a little bit, but if he throws a little bit higher football, you can see the inside position Derek Armstrong has. I mean, Kobe Reinhardt is in a trail. That ball is up there. Armstrong runs under it.
And Reinhardt on the corner now, replacing the injured Marcus Dell. 2nd and 10. Here comes the heat. Glenn with the completion to R.J. Franklin, who has 6 but will come up short. And the Bombers will have to kick it away.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Chris. Even if the Bombers hang on and win this game, and that's far from over, I don't think there'll be a fan in Winnipeg that is any more convinced that their team is sort of snapped out of this lull they've had over the last 4 or 5 games.
You think back to all the Friday nights prior to Labor Day, I think this was the best team in the country. And it's not right now.
But still have the lead.
And still could finish first.
And still could finish first in the East, absolutely.
Fleming's kick. And Davis fields it on a hop. And gets outside. And Fred Reed with the tackle. Otherwise, that was a big return. So Reed doing it not just on offense, but a big play on special teams there as well.
Well, I agree. This one is around the corner. If Fred Reed does not use his great speed, he's even beat his. Look at his angle is bad. I mean, David, he has him on the outside, and Reed cuts him off with sheer speed. Because right now he should have the corner. Chip Cox has him right there. He passes up a clip, which is a good play by Cox. How about that speed saving a big, big game? That's kind of gladiator material, too.
Yeah, getting it done in more ways than one. Not often you see your starting tailback make that kind of play. Kerry Watkins, a catch right at the first down stick.
Marcus Brady, the only quarterback other than Anthony Calvillo You back up. Last time was back in 2000. It was Tracy Ham. And he has the game and the football. I mean, this is what a quarterback wants. I mean, 5 minutes is a lot of time. Both teams will probably see it a couple of times, but a quarterback wants the game on the line and the football in his hands. That's what Marcus Brady has right now. So when you talk about his inconsistency over the time that he's had a chance to play, he can make some of that go away if he can put together a drive.
You know, Glenn, I know Jim Popp said he wanted to get Jason Moss into this game, but it's clearly Marcus Brady who's going to take them into the playoffs, and considering that he really hasn't had a lot of action this year, every series is valuable, isn't it?
Without question. But there's nothing like reps in game action.
Well, second and about a foot. Do they use this as a free play? No, it's straight ahead. And that should be a first down across the 45 for Marcus Brady.
But if you think about when they get and if they can get Jared Payton back for the playoff game, they have Kerry Carter at 240, 6'2" at fullback with a real strong power at this time of year inside running game. And Marcus Brady's ability to push the corners outside and run and put pressure on defensive ends. You know, this team could take a run. I mean, I know people aren't really giving them a lot of credit in the playoffs, or chance, I should say, but it's not over.
First down. Here comes the blitz. And the pass is complete to Cahoon, who shakes a tackle. And big Cahoon is bumped out at the 40-yard line, but Kelly Malvo let him go. And the only way you'll stop him is getting him in that net.
He's like a salmon in the net there at the end of that play, but a good move to get open. Ben Cahoon catches his timing out, and then there's the tackle. Malvo tried to get outside position, which he had to because as his friends are coming from the inside, but Cahoon shook the tackle from Kelly Malvo and ran right into the kicker's net.
A little bit of history, too. He just moved into the top 10 in receiving yards all time ahead of Tommy Joe Coffey. And Kerry Watkins with a catch. Penalty marker in that Winnipeg secondary.
It's going to be offensive pass interference on Kerry Watkins on Robert Bean. This play will be coming back. I watched it. It was a one-on-one and Kerry Watkins on the back side of the play.
Offensive pass interference. Montreal 81. The 10-yard penalty will repeat first down.
Penalty number 30 of the night. It will march Montreal back to the Winnipeg 49. Duval warming up in case he's called upon for a potential game-tying field goal.
Out of that position now, though.
They're working against the wind. It's 1st and 20 at the 49. 6 receivers out. They gun it through the hands of Watkins, incomplete, who took a look and saw Robert Bean bearing down.
Yeah, that's a big penalty for Watkins because, you know, out of field goal range. Now, he's the guy who wants to come and make up for it, but Robert Bean played it well. I mean, he was up in bump and run, and Bean's putting together a pretty good game. The goal line stand where he had the knockdown.
So 2nd and 20.
And he's the guy who blocked that punt early on.
Flag down. Brady tries to get outside. He's got Ashlyn Davis, who couldn't bring it down. And Davis on the run. Might still be running. But again, a penalty marker on the play. And it's going against the Alouettes.
Play took awful long time to develop, and by that time, you've got to believe there's a holding call somewhere.
Procedure, illegal formation. Winnipeg number 61 was not up on the line. The penalty is declined. It's 3rd down.
That's at least 3 times we've had that call made tonight.
I was going to say, now Luke Fritz is the guy who's called there. So no holding call there, but Luke Fritz called that. You're right, 3 or 4 illegal formation calls. It's a keen eye by Bud Steen. And Luke Fritz has come in the backup role for Skip Seagraves, in case you're just joining us, who is gone for possibly the rest of the year.
So Duval into punt, and again that Offensive pass interference penalty against Watkins. Move the ball out of Duval field goal range, so they'll try and back the Bombers up here. Stokes awaits at his 6.
This is where punt returners can earn their money.
And so can punters. And it is at the 8 for Stokes. And he is brought down quickly at the 9-yard line. That's the 3-minute warning here in Winnipeg. Tonight's game story brought to you by Under Armour, or Sport Check, your Under Armour headquarters.
Well, Fred Reed in replacing Charles Roberts had a good game. This one we can just move on. Kevin Glenn gets over 5,000, 51 of those yards from Milt Stegall. Ben Cahoon moves into 10th. So 3 check marks and an X on the game story. Too many penalties tonight, but other than that, very interesting game that is going to come right down for the last 3 minutes.
And maybe more. Just a field goal separating these teams, and the Bombers need some first downs here. Otherwise, they're going to have to give it right back to the Alouettes in good field position. Quick hitter O'Neal Wilson, and another ball through his hands, and O'Neal Wilson's had the drops against his old team tonight.
A tougher one for O'Neal Wilson. I'm not going to give him the alibi because you're right. He should have caught that ball. We've seen some drops. We've seen the Montreal Alouettes. Elijah Thurman drop one. Ashlyn Davis dropped a key second down play. So happening both sides, both offenses. That's a high throw on an inside quick slant to O'Neal Wilson, and that sort of exposes the rib cage, makes that a tougher catch for a wide receiver.
Well, here's a big play, 2nd and 10. And Kevin Glenn gets it away and has an open man. Fred Reed out of the backfield with a huge play. What a night he's had.
Well, he has been the Bombers' outstanding player on this night, and if they can hold on and win this game, he's right there to the left of your screen. That's where he starts. So an inside receiver position, basically now he heads straight to the sideline and then runs the wheel route. So he turns to the sideline and then down, and Diamond Ferry is in chase, and at the throw, on the throw here from Kevin Glenn, I think he jammed his finger or his hand as he gets hit. Got up holding the hand right after that.
He was in some discomfort, but it's a 34-yard play, double tight ends, and back to Reed on the ground. And he's up to the 52, but what a big chunk of real estate at a critical juncture of the game for Fred Reed to convert on 2nd and 10.
And as an athlete, professional football, Fred Reed's stock has just gone way up. No matter how many more years Charles Roberts plays or what happens with regards to who starts and who doesn't, Fred Reed in one game has put together a pretty good highlight reel.
100 yards in the first half on the ground. He made a big tackle on special teams earlier in this 4th quarter to prevent a big return, and now a 2nd down conversion, and here's the option toss to Reed, and he's got a first down to the 49-yard line. Another big first down play by Fred Reed on the option toss from Kevin Glenn.
And Kevin Glenn makes the play, Chris, because he comes downhill to force the option. Because if he keeps going this way, the option gets strung out. But what he does is he comes downhill like that on that angle, and that forces the end to tackle Kevin Glenn. Instead of going flat, he goes right at the end. That means he can pitch it earlier to get it to Fred Reed, and then Fred Reed picks up the first down. The option, if it's run properly, is run properly by the quarterback, and Kevin Glenn makes that play.
Now look at Kevin Glenn's left arm. It is hanging right now, and that has to be of concern. Despite an impressive march here, back to Reed, right side. And at the 45, 3 more. Minute 16 left on the clock.
Well, the best player offensively, this does not look good for Kevin Glenn.
The only quarterback to start all 18 games this year in the CFL. Goes to his ready list. Looking for a 2nd and 7 play. One more first down here in this one should put the ball in the Argos' court tomorrow. And it's Reed straight ahead, and he'll be short of the first down.
Here is that highlight reel that not only the Bomber coaching staff in the offseason, no matter how this season ends for them, is going to take a long look at, but so will every other coaching staff around the league and say, you know, if Fred Reed becomes a free agent, or he's playing behind Charles Roberts, and there's a possibility, you know, that's what players are always thinking, even if games, it doesn't really matter what time of year it is, you always want to show well, and that's a good game by Fred Reed, the best offensive player on the field tonight.
Third down. The ball is at the 42. And even with the wind at their back, it'll be a punt and not another Troy Westwood attempt. Timeout stopped the clock, I believe, with 52 seconds to go. Some pressure there, but kicks away, and Davis comes out of the end zone, but not very far. Great cover by Kyrus Hebert, and it's a long field. Still a 3-point lead. And it's time now for the Friday Night Gladiator, brought to you by Castrol. More than just oil, it's liquid engineering.
The #1 oil in the country, by the way, thanks to Castrol for their sponsorship here. And Fred Reed was the outstanding player, best offensive player, but down in the trenches where it gets nasty is where we're picking our Gladiator tonight. I mentioned him as a front runner, and let's just give it to him because the Eastern finalist for outstanding lineman in the CFL, Dan Goodspeed, deserves it tonight. Congratulations to Goodspeed, our Gladiator on the evening.
Long field. A pump, and that pass just off the fingertips of an outstretched Ben Cahoon. Well, there's Dan Goodspeed, and as tonight's Gladiator, he receives a Movado Series 800 watch. Movado is the art of performance.
A right tackle who had a severely damaged knee a year ago, came back from rehab, worked hard at it. It's part of an offensive line that ranks first coming into this game at sacks allowed, a finalist, and played a great game tonight.
2nd and 10 at the 3. Fans on their feet, hoping for another big defensive play, and that ball falls short. And the Alouettes are down to their final play. Gavin Walls may have got a hand on this Marcus Brady delivery.
There's Gavin Walls. He's made that inside move on Dave Munch. He's had success.
Yep.
And comes down to this play, but still a lot of real estate between Marcus Brady and the goal line.
Well, the Alouettes need 10, and they need 3 to tie. 3rd down, Marcus Brady, and that's incomplete. It's a turnover on downs inside the Montreal 5, and that will salt this one away. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers
So
will win their 10th and will move back into first place with 1 game left in the Eastern Division.
And you know, the one team in the league that was watching this game very closely is now getting ready to strap them up tomorrow, because the Toronto Argonauts now they still have control. They win against Saskatchewan, they can take first and host that home field. But right now, Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Wonder if Ken Austin read Doug Brown's column this week.
Well, I don't know. Ken Austin has said that he will play his starters at least to start the game.
And the Bombers are just going to run the clock out here.
But the race alive for first place. And you know, when you look at guys like Kevin Glenn with that arm, right? He hurts his arm late in this game. Baron Simpson went out early in this game. Obby Khan may be gone. That much more serious, it sounds like, with that one. But that extra bye week, if you're a little banged up, Charles Roberts is another one. you're a little banged up. That extra bye week is huge. So now the Bombers will sit and watch the Argonauts.
It will come down to the Argos and the Rough Riders to decide first. Alouettes are third. They don't know if they're coming back here next week for the Eastern semifinal or whether they'll be headed to Toronto. Doug Barry's team has its 10th win of the year. It was hard fought. It wasn't glittering, but it will go in the books as a 20-17 victory for Winnipeg over Montreal.